Welcome to another Table Read Tuesday. This time we're reading a script that film schools say is a must read. They say one of the best scripts ever written for film noir, Chinatown. So we'll read in the script some of the things that if you want to write a script like this to do. And then after discussion, we'll talk about some things in the film industry not to do. All right, so today we're going to go around this great, awesome, willing cast that are each going to do multiple parts. And on my screen in the top left, I have Don Lapasone.
I am Don. I'll be reading Giddis tonight. And I noticed in the movie they pronounced that 5 different ways. So I'm going to say Giddis. Did you guys notice that? Yeah, I'm going to have fun, hopefully, with that.
Awesome. I haven't seen the movie for a long time. I wasn't a huge fan, but they say we should learn this one. So, and it's more about the screenplay than the movie. So we're reading
I
it.
agree with you.
So, and that's another point I want to bring up. Like, if somebody's going to enter a competition, if you're going to have other people read your screenplay, you want to make sure they like that genre. Like, I'm not a huge film noir person, so I shouldn't be the one reading film noir or judging if that's good or bad. And that goes for any genre. If you're horror, romantic, you don't have someone who doesn't like horror read your horror script and give you feedback. If someone doesn't like romance movies, you don't have them read your romance script and give you feedback. Sorry, my opinion we'll talk about more in the after discussion. But till then, Heather Cameron, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Heather Lee Cameron. I've never seen this movie, but tonight I'll be playing 13 different roles in it. And I'm hoping to have some fun with it. Yes, I counted them. And I'm excited to give it a try.
We're excited to see it and hear all of them. And same with, how about you, Clint Monroe? How many do you have? What are you doing today?
Hey guys, it's me, Clint Monroe. Yeah, I have 15 characters tonight, so we're gonna see how that goes. I'll do my best, but man, I just decided that this is something that I want to do. It's something that I'm talented at. It's something that I think about constantly, and it's kind of like, taking that step to fulfill your dreams. And just watching this and now reading it, I'm like super nervous. I mean, we're standing on the backs of giants here. I mean, this is a monumental script. I don't even know how much I need to learn and develop and grow and work just to even touch this thing. So I am so excited to get in and see the meat and potatoes of this script. So that's me in a nutshell. Well, actually, that's me in a nutshell. But anyways, I'll pass the torch.
And with that, that shows how much I have to learn, because I don't understand yet why this is so good, and I haven't watched and analyzed things. So in the after discussion, you guys, please bring out the points to me of why this is so highly regarded, and share them with me so I can learn from that. Next, we have not Bagby Duffy and others. Craig Scott.
Hi everyone, I'm Craig. Screenplays are cool. I haven't written one yet, but I enjoy reading them. As far as Chinatown is concerned, unlike you, Clint Monroe, I've seen Chinatown and I've seen all these actors when they were young. So I've enjoyed each and every one of them. And this was one of my favorites because I happen to like the genre of film noir immensely. I'm a huge Bogey fan, so film noir is right up my alley. So I'm looking forward to reading the script, and I only play about 10 or 11 characters. So
awesome.
So the rest of them got me beat. So there you go.
Only 10
Pass it on to, how about Vicky?
Yes, Vicky Dykes.
Hello, Vicky Dykes. Don't be mad. I'm only playing 2 characters tonight.
Slacker. Just kidding.
Usually I have at least 10, but I'm playing Evelyn and Emma. And for the life of me, I couldn't find Emma in the script. So I have no idea how to play her, but yeah, I'll just wing it.
All right, we'll see if that comes up. And last but certainly not least, a man of many voices, Jason Steele.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. It's been probably I think 2 months since I did a table read Tuesdays, so just been busy with a lot of projects, and so I'm excited to come back and do this tonight. And it's a movie I haven't seen either. Watched a little YouTube thing about the little commentary on it, and really gave the idea that this is a film noir with that a lot of viewers don't understand the first time they see it. So we'll see if I figure it out as I watch it, or if I'm going to be confused like everyone else. So I'm excited.
All right, it sounds like it's going to be a good after discussion of how much we learned from it and the stuff Craig can point out to us and everything else. So, but we'll have to get through it to get there. So we'll get started right now. All right, everybody ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
All right, then I'll share the screen. Okay, there we go. Everyone can see the screen?
Yep.
All righty. This is Chinatown, screenplay by Robert Towne. Fade in. Full screen photograph, grainy but unmistakably a man and a woman making love. Photoshop shakes, sound of a man moaning in anguish. The photograph is dropped, revealing another, more compromising one. Then another and another, more moans.
Oh no.
Interior Giddy's office. Curly drops the photo on Giddy's desk. Curly towers over Giddy's. How do you say that, Don?
Giddies.
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 Giddies, and sweats heavily through his workman's clothes, his breathing progressively more labored, and drops plunks Giddy's shiny desktop. Giddy's notes it. A fan whips overhead. Giddy's glances up at it. He looks cool and brisk in a white linen suit despite the heat, never taking his eyes off Curly. He lights a cigarette using a lighter with a nail on his desk. Curly, with another anguished sob, turns and rams his fist into the wall, kicking the wastebasket as he does. He starts to sob again, slides along the wall where his fist has left a noticeable dent of its impact, and sent assigned photos of several movie stars askew. Curly slides on into the blinds and sinks to his knees. He is weeping heavily now, and in such pain that he actually bites into the blinds. Giddy doesn't move from his chair.
All right, enough is enough. You can't eat the Venetian blinds, Curly. I just had them installed on Wednesday.
Curly responds slowly, rising to his feet, crying. Giddy reaches into his desk and pulls out a shot glass, quickly selects a cheaper bottle of bourbon from several fifths of more expensive whiskeys. Giddy pours a large shot and shoves the glass across the desk to Curly.
Down the hatch.
Curly stares dumbly at it, then picks it up and drains it. He sinks back into the chair opposite of Giddy's and begins to cry quietly.
She's just no good.
What can I tell you, kid? You're right. When you're right, you're right. And you're right.
Ain't worth thinking about.
Giddy leaves the bottle with Curly.
You're absolutely right. I wouldn't give her another thought.
You know, you're okay, Mr. Giddies. I know your job, but you're okay.
Thanks, Curly. Call me Jake.
Thanks. Hey, you know something, Jake?
What's that, Curly?
I think I'll kill her.
Interior Duffy and Walsh's office. Noticeably less plush than Giddy's, a well-groomed, dark-haired woman sits nervously between two desks, fiddling with the veil on her pillbox hat. And the woman says,
I was hoping Mr. Giddies could see to this personally.
To allow us to complete our preliminary questioning, by then he'll be free.
There's a sound of another moan come from Giddy's office. Something made of glass shatters. The woman grows more edgy. Interior Giddy's office, Giddy's and Curly. Giddy's and Curly stand in front of the desk. Giddy standing contemptuously at the heavy breathing hulk towering over him. Giddys takes a handkerchief and wipes away the plunk of perspiration on his desk.
They don't kill a guy for that.
Oh, they don't?
No, not for your wife. That's the unwritten law.
Giddys pounds the photos on the desk, shouting.
I'll tell you the unwritten law, you dumb son of a bitch. You gotta be rich to kill somebody. Anybody get away with it. You think you got that kind of dough? You think you got that kind of class?
Curly shrinks back a little.
No.
You bet your ass you don't. You can't even pay me off.
This seems to upset Curly even more.
Look, I'll pay the rest next trip. We got 60 tons of shipjacks around San Benedict. We hit a
Chabasco?
They didn't pay you for the shipjack, and the way they do for the tuna and albacore.
Forget it. I only mention it to illustrate a point.
Interior office reception. He's now walking him past Sophie, who pointedly averts her gaze. He opens the door where on pebbled glass can be read J.J. Giddys and Associates, discreet investigation.
I don't want your last dime.
He throws an arm around Curly and flashes a dazzling smile.
What kind of guy do you think I am?
Hey, thanks, Mr. Giddys.
Call me Jake. Careful driving home, Curly.
He shuts the door on him and the smile disappears. He shakes his head, starting to swear under his breath. Mr. Murray is waiting for you with Miss Walsh and Mr. Duffy. Giddys nods, walks on in. Interior Duffy and Walsh's office. Walsh rises when Giddys enters.
Mrs. Mulray, may I present Mr. Giddys?
Giddys walks over to her and again flashes a warm, sympathetic smile.
How do you do, Mrs. Mulray?
Mr. Giddys?
Now, Mrs. Mulray, what seems to be the problem?
She
My
holds her breath. The revelation isn't easy for her.
My husband, I believe, is seeing another woman.
Giddys looks mildly shocked. He turns for confirmation to his two partners.
No, really?
I'm afraid so.
I am sorry.
Giddys pulls up a chair, sitting next to Mrs. Mulray, between Duffy and Walsh. Duffy cracks his gum. Giddys gives him an irritated glance. Duffy stops chewing.
Can't we talk about this alone, Mr. Giddys?
I'm afraid not, Miss Mulray. These men are my operatives, and at some point they're going to assist me. I can't do everything myself.
Of course not.
Now, what makes you certain he's involved with someone?
Miss Mulray hesitates. She seems uncommonly nervous at the question.
My wife can tell.
Giddys sighs.
Miss Mulray, do you love your husband?
Yes, of course.
Then go home and forget about it.
But
I'm sure he loves you too. You know the expression, let sleeping dogs lie. You're better off not knowing.
I have to know.
Her intensity is genuine. Giddys looks to his two partners.
All right. What's your husband's first name?
Hollis Mulray.
Water and Power?
Miss Mulray nods, almost shyly. Giddys is now casually but carefully checking out the detailing of Miss Mulray's dress, her handbag, shoes, etc.
He's the chief engineer.
Duffy, a little eagerly.
Chief engineer.
Giddys glances, tells Duffy Giddys wants to do the questioning. Miss Mulray nods.
This type of investigation can be hard on your pocketbook, Miss Mulray. It takes time.
Money doesn't matter to me, Mr. Giddys.
Giddys sighs.
Very well. We'll see what we can do.
Exterior City Hall morning, already shimmering with heat. A drunk blows his nose with his fingers into the fountain at the foot of the steps. Giddys, impeccably dressed, passes the drunk on the way up the stairs. Interior Council chambers. Former Mayor Sam Bagby is speaking. Behind him is a huge map with overleafs and bold lettering. Proposed Alto Vallejo Dam and Reservoir. Some of the councilmen are reading funny papers and gossip columns while Bagby is speaking.
Gentlemen, today you can walk out that door, turn right, hop on a streetcar in 25 minutes, end up smack in the Pacific Ocean. Now you can swim in it, you can fish in it, you can nail in it, but you can't drink it. You can't water your lawns with it, you can't irrigate an orange grove with it. Remember, we live next door to the ocean, but we also live on the edge of the desert. Los Angeles is a desert community. Beneath this building, beneath every street, there's a desert. Without water, the dust will rise up and cover us, though we never existed.
Close. Giddies, sitting next to some grumpy farmer's board. He yawns, edges away from one of the dirtier farmers.
The Alto Vallejo can save us from that, and I respectfully suggest that $8.5 million is a fair price to pay to keep the desert from our streets, and not on top of them.
Audience, council chambers. The amalgam of farmers, businessmen, and city employees have been listening with keen interest. A couple of the farmers applaud. Somebody shushes them. City committee in whispered conference.
Mayor Bagby, let's hear from the departments again. I suppose we better take water and power first, Mr. Mulray.
Reaction Giddies, looking up with interest from his racing form. Mulray walks to the huge map with overleafs. He is a slender man in his 60s who wears glasses and moves with surprising fluidity. He turns to a smaller, younger man and nods. The man turns the overleaf on the map.
In case you've forgotten, gentlemen, over 500 lives were lost when the Vanderlip Dam gave way. Core samples have shown that beneath this bedrock is shale, similar to permeable shale in the Vanderlip disaster. Now, I couldn't withstand that kind of pressure there. Now, you propose yet another dirt bank terminus dam with slopes of 2.5 to 1, 112 feet high and 12,000 acre water surface. Well, it won't hold. I won't build it. It's that simple. I'm not making that kind of mistake twice. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mulray leaves the overleaf board and sits down. Suddenly, there are some whoops and hollers from the rear of the chambers, and a red-faced farmer drives in several scrawny, bleating sheep. Naturally, they cause a commotion.
What in the hell do you think you're doing? Down the aisles towards the council. Get those goddamn things out of here.
Tell me where to take them. You don't have an answer for that so quick, do you?
Bailiffs and sergeants at arms respond to the imprecations of the council in an attempt to capture the sheep, and the farmers having to restrain one who looks like he's going to bodily attack Mulray.
You steal water from the valley, ruin the graze, starve our livestock? Who's paying you to do that? Mr. Mulray, that's what I want to know.
LA riverbed long shot. It's virtually empty. Sun blazes off its ugly concrete banks. Where the banks are earthen, they are parched and choked with weeds. After a moment, Mulray's car pulls into view on a flood control road about 15 feet above the riverbed. Mulray gets out of the car. Meade looks around with Giddies. Holding a pair of binoculars downstream and just above the flood control road, using some dried mustard weeds for cover, he watches while Mulray makes his way down to the center of the riverbed. There Mulray stops, turns slowly, appears to be looking at the bottom of the riverbed or at nothing at all. Giddies trains the binoculars on him. Sun glints off Mulray's glasses. Below Giddies, there's a sound of something like champagne corks popping. Then a small Mexican boy atop a swayback horse rides into the riverbed and into Giddy's view. Mulray himself stops, stands still when he hears the sound. Power lines and the sun are overhead. It trickles, and of brackish water at his feet. He moves swiftly downstream in the direction of the sound towards Giddy's. Giddy's moves a little further back as Mulray rounds the bend in the river and comes face to face with the Mexican boy on the muddy banks. Mulray says something to the boy. The boy doesn't answer at first. Mulray points to the ground. The boy gestures. Mulray frowns. He kneels down in the mud and stares at it. He seems to be concentrating on it. After a moment he rises, thanks the boy, and heads swiftly back upstream, scrambling up the bank to his car. There he reaches through the window and pulls out a roll of blueprints, or something like them. He spreads them out on the hood of his car and begins to scribble some notes. Looking downstream from time to time, the power lines overhead hum. He stops, listens to them, then rolls up the plans and gets back in the car. He drives off. Giddy's hurries to get back to the car. He gets in and gets right back out. The steamy leather burns him. He takes a towel from the back seat and carefully places it on the front one. He gets in and takes off. Point Furman Park, dusk. Street lights go on. Mulray pulls up, parks, hurries out of the car, across the park lawn and into the shade of some trees and buildings. Giddy's pulls up, moves across the park at a different angle, but in the direction Mulray had gone. He makes it through the trees in time to see Mulray scramble adroitly down the side of the cliff to the beach below. He seems in a hurry. Giddy's moves after him, having a little more difficulty negotiating the climb than Mulray did. Down the beach, Giddy's looks to his right, where the bay is long, clear crescent. He looks to his left. There's a promontory of sorts. It's apparent Mulray has gone that way. Giddy's hesitates, then moves in that direction, but climbs along the promontory in order to be above Mulray. At the outfall, Giddy spots Mulray just below him, kicking at the sand. Mulray picks up a starfish, brushes the sand off it, looks absently up toward Giddy's. Giddy's backs away, sits near the outfall, yawns, beacon light at the Point Furman, flashing in the dust. Close, Giddy's, sitting suddenly, starts. He swears softly. He's in a puddle of water, and the seat of his trousers is wet. Mulray below him is in watching the water trickling down from the outfall near Giddy's. Mulray stands and stares at the water, apparently fascinated, even as Giddy's watches Mulray, watching the volume and the velocity to seem to increase until it gushes, it spurts, cascading into the sea, whipping it into foam. At the streets, Giddy's car, there's a slip of paper stuck under the windshield wiper. Giddy's pulls it off and gets in the car and turns on the dash light. It says, "Save our city. Los Angeles is dying of thirst. Protect your property. Los Angeles is your investment in the future. Vote yes November 6th. Citizens Committee to Save Our City. Hans Sam Bagby, former mayor, chairman." Giddy's grumbles, crumples it up and tosses it out the window. He notices other flyers parked on a couple of cars down the street. Giddy's reaches down, opens his glove compartment. Interior glove compartment consists of small mountain of Ingersoll pocket watches. The cheap price tags are still on them. Giddy's pulls out one. He absently winds it, checks the time with his own watch. It's 9:37. As he walks to Mulray's car, he places it behind the front wheel of Mulray's car. He yawns again and heads back to his own car. Arrives whistling, opens the door with J.J. Giddy's and Associates discreet investigation on it.
Morning,
Giddy's.
Sophie. Morning, Sophie.
Sophie hands him a small pile of messages. He goes through them.
Walsh here?
He's in the dark room. Giddy's walks through his office to Duffy and Walsh's. A little red light on in the corner over the closed door. Giddy's walks over and knocks on the door.
Where'd he go yesterday?
Three reservoirs.
Men's room of a Richfield gas station on Flower and the Pig and Whistle.
Jesus Christ, this guy's really got water in the brain.
What do you expect? That's his job.
Listen, we can't string this broad out indefinitely. We got to come up with something.
I think I got something.
Oh, yeah? You pick up the watch?
Interior Duffy and
It's on
Walsh's
your
office.
desk. Say, you're the one about the guy who goes out to the North Pole with Admiral Byrd looking for penguins?
Giddys walks to his office. On his desk is the Intersol watch, crystal broken. The hand stopped at 2:47.
He was there all night.
Giddys drops it, sits down. Walsh comes in carrying a series of wet photos stuck with clothespins onto a small blackboard.
So what do you got?
Walsh shows him the photos. He looks at them. There are a series outside a restaurant showing Mulway with another man whose appearance is striking. In the two photos, a gnarled cane is visible.
This?
They got into a terrific argument outside the Pig and Whistle.
What about?
I don't know. The traffic was pretty loud. I only heard one thing, Apple Core.
Apple core?
Yeah,
Interior Giddys' office. Giddys tosses down the photos in disgust.
Jesus Christ, Walsh. That's what you spent your day doing?
look, you tell me to take pictures, I take pictures.
Let me explain something to you, Walsh. This business requires a certain finesse.
The phone has been ringing. Sophie buzzes him.
Yeah, Sophie. Duffy, where are you?
Duffy's voice can be heard excitedly.
I got it. I got it. He's found himself with some cute little twist in a rowboat in Echo Park.
Okay, slow down. Echo Park. Jesus, water again.
Westlake, MacArthur Park. Duffy is rowing. Giddy seated in the stern. They pass Mulway and a slender blonde girl in a summer print dress drifting in the rowboat. Mulway fondly dotting on the girl.
Let's have a big smile, pal.
He shoots past Duffy expertly, running off a couple of fast shots. Mulway and the girl seem blissfully unaware of them. Duffy turns again, and they row past Mulway and the girl. Giddy's again clicking off several fast shots. Close shot sign, Al Macondo Apartments. Move along the red tiled roof and down to a lower level of the roof where Giddy's feet are hooked over the apex of the roof, and Giddy's himself is stretched face downward on the tiles, pointing himself and his camera to the veranda below him where the girl and Mulway are eating. Giddy's is clicking off more shots. The tiles his feet are hooked over come loose. Giddy's begin to slow slide down the tiles to the edge of the roof and possibly over it to a 3-story drop. He tries to slow himself. The loose tile also begins to slide. Giddy stops himself at the roof's edge by the storm drain and begins a very precarious turn, this time hooking his feet on the drain itself. The loose tile falls and hits the veranda below. He stops as it's about to slide over the edge. He carefully lays it in the drain, but a fragment off the cracked edge of the tile falls. With Mulway and the girl, Mulway staring at the fragment at his feet, he looks up to the girl. He's clearly concerned. He rises, looks up to the roof. From his POV, the roof and the sign topping it betray nothing. He slowly sits back down, staring at the tile fragment. Close shot. Newspaper Department of Water and Power blows a fuse over the chief's use of funds for the El Macondo love nest. In the style of the Hearst yellow press, there is a heart-shaped drawing around one of the photos that Giddy's has taken. Next to it, in a smaller column, J.J. Giddy's, hired by suspicious spouse. Interior barbershop, Giddy's, holds the paper and reads while he's getting his hair cut, and his shoes shine. In fact, almost all the customers are reading the papers. Barney says,
Well, when you get so much publicity, after a while, you must be biased about it.
A self-satisfied smile comes to Giddy's face.
Face it, You're practically a movie star.
In the background, customers can be overheard talking about the drought. Interspersed with above, someone is saying, they're gonna start rationing water unless it rains. Someone else, only for washing your cars. Third says, you're not going to be able to water your lawn either, or take a bath more than once a week. First says, if you don't have a lawn or a car, do you get an extra bath? Giddy's has been staring outside the barber shop. A car is stalled. The hood is up. A man watches his radiator boiling over.
Look at that.
Yeah, he eats murder.
Full names and full faces.
Giddy's has heard the word. He straightens up.
What's that, pal?
Nothing. You got a hell of a way to make a living.
Oh, what do you do to make ends meet?
Mortgage department, First National Bank.
Giddy's laughs.
Tell me, how many people a week do you foreclose on?
We don't publish a record in the paper, I can tell you that.
Neither do I.
No. You have a press agent do it.
Giddy's gets out of the chair. Barney, a little concerned, tries to restrain him, holding onto the barber sheet around Giddy's neck.
Barney, who is this bimbo? He a regular customer?
Take it easy, Jake.
Look, pal, I make an honest living. People don't come to me unless they're miserable, and I help them out of a bad situation. I don't kick them out of their homes like you jerks who work in the bank.
Jake, for Christ's sake.
Giddy's is trying to take off his sheet.
Come on, get out of the barber chair. We'll go outside and talk this over.
Hey,
Cut.
come on, Jake. Sit down. You heard about the fellas going out with his friends and says, what'll I do? I'm tired of screwing my ex-wife. Oh, he says, what'll I do? I'm tired of screwing my wife. And he says to his friends, why didn't you do it the way the Chinese do?
Giddy's allows himself to be tugged back into his chair.
I don't know how that got in the papers. A matter of fact, it surprised me. It was so quick. I make an honest living.
Yeah, of course you do, Jake.
An honest living.
So anyways, he says, why don't you do it the way the Chinese do?
Interior Giddy's office. Giddy's comes bursting in, slapping a newspaper on his thigh.
Duffy, Walsh,
Walsh comes out of his office, Duffy out of the other one.
Sophie, go to the little girl's room for a minute.
But Mr. Giddy's.
Sophie.
Yes, Mr. Giddy's. She gets up and leaves.
So there's this fella who's tired of screwing his wife.
Jake, listen.
Shut up, Duffy. You're always in the hurry. And his friend says, why not do what the Chinese do? So he says, what do? His friend says the Chinese, they screw for a while. Just listen for a second, Duffy.
A stunning young woman appears behind Giddy's in the doorway. She is shortly joined by a small, gray-haired man. They listened, unseen by Giddy's.
And then they stop and they read a little Confucius and they screw some more. And they stop and they smoke some opium. And then they go smoke some more opium, and then they go back and screw some more. And then they stop again, and then they contemplate the moon or something. And it makes it more exciting. So this other guy goes home to screw his wife. And after a while, he stops and he gets up and he goes into the other room. Only he reads Life magazine, and he goes back and he screws some more. And suddenly he says, excuse me a second. And he gets up and he smokes a cigarette and he goes back. And by the time his wife is getting sore as hell, by that time, so he screws some more, and then he gets up, look at the moon, and his wife says, what the hell do you think you're doing? You're screwing like a Chinaman.
Giddy's hangs onto Sophie's desk, laughing his ass off. The little gray-haired man winces. When Giddy's looks up, he sees the young woman, apparently in her late 20s. She is so stunning that Giddy's nearly gasps.
Mr. Giddies,
Yes.
do you know me?
Well, I think I would have remembered.
Have we ever met?
Well, no,
Never.
never.
That's what I thought. You see, I'm Mrs. Evelyn Mulray. You know Mr. Mulray's wife?
Giddy's is staggered. He glances down at the newspaper.
Not that Mulray.
Yes, that Mulray, Mr. Giddies. And since you agree with me we've never met, you must also agree that I haven't hired you to do anything. Certainly not spy on my husband. I see you like publicity, Mr. Geddes. Well, you're going to get it.
Now, wait a minute, Miss Mulroy.
She walked past him toward the door. He stops her.
There's some misunderstanding here. It's not going to do any good to get tough with me.
Evelyn flashes a cold smile.
I don't get tough with anybody, Mr. Geddes. My lawyer does.
Evelyn starts out the door, and Giddy starts after her. This time, he's stopped by the gray-haired man, who has also come out of his office and up behind him.
There's something for you, Mr. Geddes.
Geddes turns to be handed a thick sheaf of papers, a summons and complaint. Evelyn walks out the door.
I suppose you'll be hearing from your attorney, huh?
Geddes stares down at the papers in his hands. Interior Geddes' inner office, Geddes, Duffy, and Walsh. On Geddes' desk, there are empty coffee cups and summons and complaint, and the newspaper Geddes had brought with him from the barber shop. The three men are sitting, worn and silent. Walsh, chewing gum, is the loudest noise in the room. Geddes looks to Walsh with obvious irritation. Walsh stops chewing. Duffy puts out a cigarette, and in the dregs of the coffee cups.
There's 7 ashtrays in this room, Duffy.
Okay.
That's a filthy habit.
I said, okay, Jake.
Yeah. If she'd come in here saying she was Shirley Temple, you'd say okay to that, too.
Look, Jake, she gave us Mulray's real phone number and address.
All she needed for that was the phone book.
No. She said not to call. Her husband might answer.
When I found out who that phony bitch was.
Geddes is staring down at the newspaper. He suddenly grabs the phone, begins to dialing. A tight little smile breaks out on his face. He buzzes Sophie.
Sophie,
Yes, Mr. Geddes.
get me the Times. Whitney Meerholtz. And how about that snotty broad? What does she think? She's perfect? Coming here waving her lawyers and her money at me. So goddamn smug. She's no better than anybody else in this town.
Sophie buzzes.
Whitney, what's new, pal? Yeah, listen. Where did you get those photographs? Yeah? Blowing a fuse over the El Macondo love nest? That's cute. Whitney. So who sent them to you? I sent them. Why would I be asking you how you got them if I sent them? Whitney, Whitey, come on. Level with me for once. My tit's in the ringer and it's beginning to hurt. Yeah.
He hangs up.
So he says you sent them?
They're all a bunch of phonies.
Interior Department, Water and Power Hall. Geddes stops outside the door marked Hollis and J. Mulray, Chief Engineer. He enters an outer office. The secretary looks surprised.
Mr. Mulray, please.
He's not in, Mr.
Get this.
May I ask what this is regarding?
It's personal. Has he been out long?
Since lunch.
Gee whiz. Am I late? And I'm late.
He was expecting you.
15 minutes ago. Why don't I go in and wait?
Without waiting for a response, he does. The secretary half rises in protest, but Geddes is through the inner door. Mulray's inner office. The walls are covered with commendation, photos of Mulray at various construction sites, large maps of watershed areas and reservoirs in the city. On the desk is a framed tinted photo of Evelyn in riding clothes. Geddes moves to the desk, watching the translucent pane in the upper half of the door leading to the outer office. As he does, he begins to open and close the desk drawers after quickly examining the top. He tries one of the drawers and it doesn't open. He reopens the top drawer and the bottom one opens. He looks in it, pulls out a checkbook. He opens it, rifles through the stub like he was shuffling cards, drops it, finds a set of keys, an old phone book, and a menu from the water department lunch at the Biltmore Hotel in 1913. Then Giddys hauls out the blueprints that Mulray had laid across the hood of his car. They read in bold type, "Watershed and drainage system for the Los Angeles Basin." He flips through them, reads one notation in Mulray's neat hand, "Tuesday night, Oak Pass, Res, 7 channel used." Giddy spots a shadow looming in front of the translucent pane. He quickly tosses the item back, kneeing the drawer, nearly knocking a spare pair of Mulray's glasses off the desktop. When he does, he catches them and puts them on the desk and is pacing the room as the door opens. Russ Yelborn enters the room. An anxious secretary is right behind him.
I help you, Russ Yelburton, the deputy chief in the department.
JJ Gittes. And it's not a department matter.
I wonder if you care to wait in my office.
This is more a request than an invitation. Giddys nods, follows Yelburton out, through the outer office, and in his offices down the hall.
You see, this whole business in the paper with Mr. Mulray has us all on the edge.
Interior Yelburton office, smaller than Mulray's, he has most noticeably a lacquered marlin mounted on the wall. There are a couple of other pictures of Yelburton with yellowtail and other fish that he's standing beside. There is also a small bird of fish with the initials AC below it, tacked onto the wall.
After all, you work with a man for a certain length of time. You come to know him, his habits, his values, and so forth. Well, either he's the kind who chases after women or he isn't.
And Mulray isn't?
He never even kids about it.
Maybe he takes it very seriously.
Giddys winks. Yelburton chuckles appreciatively, loosening up a little.
You don't happen to know where Mr. Mulray is having lunch?
I'm sorry,
Well, tell him I'll be back.
Giddy spots a card tray on Yelburton's desk.
Mind if I take one of your cards in case I want to get in touch with you again?
help yourself.
Giddy fishes a couple off the tray and puts them in his handkerchief pocket. He goes out the door, nearly running into a man who's standing by the secretary's desk, about Giddy's age, only a head taller and a foot wider, dressed in a plain suit that fits him about as well as a brown paper bag.
Mulvihill, what are you doing here?
Outer office, Yelburton, Mulvihill, and Giddy's. Mulvihill stares at Giddy's with unblinking eyes, remains by the desk.
They shut my water off. What's to you?
How'd you find out? You don't drink it. You don't take a bath in it. Maybe they sent you a letter? But then you'd have to be able to read.
Mulvihill moves towards Giddy's, shaking with fury. Yelburton steps between them.
Relax, Mulvihill. Glad to see you. Do you know Claude Mulvihill here?
Hope so. He's working for us.
Giddy's turns off onto a winding road. It gets into the foothills. Giddy swerves, missing a dog stretched out lazily in the road. Giddy honks and yells indignantly at the sleepy animal. Giddy stops on a curve above the steep bank. Partially hidden is Mulray home, designed and constructed with shade and curves that are dramatic. When he turns off the ignition, the sound of the surf can be heard. Giddy's heads up to the entrance. Clint, did you want to take it for right now?
Yeah. So
External.
external Mulray's house, Giddy's. Giddy's rings the bell. He waits. Powerful Chinese butler with heavy hair and a half jacket of gold in one front tooth answers the door.
JJ Gittes to see Mr. Mulray.
He hands the Chinese butler a card from his wallet. The butler takes it and disappears, leaving Giddy standing in the doorway. Giddy stands and sweats, watching the Japanese gardener trim the hedges. There's a squeaking sound. Giddy moves a few feet from the porch. POV, garage. A chauffeur is watching down a cream-colored Packard with a chamois. Steam rises from the hood. The squeaking obviously comes from the chamois. Chinese butler in the doorway. Please. Giddy's looks behind him. The Chinese butler is gesturing for him to follow. Through the house, Giddy's follows him, trying to check out the rooms as he goes. A maid is cleaning in the den. They pass through it and out some French doors along the trellised walkway to the large pond with running water. You wait, please. Giddy's in front, standing on the pond, is suddenly very quiet, except for the running water. The pond is overflowing. After a moment, the gardener comes running back. He smiles at Giddy's, probing into the pond. There's something gleaming at the bottom of it. Giddy's notes it. After a moment, the gardener drops the long probe, and the water recedes. Exterior, pond, Giddy's and the Japanese gardener, day.
Bad for glass.
Yeah, sure. Bad for glass.
The gardener nods and is off, leaving Giddy's staring at the object at the bottom of the pond as it gleams. He looks at the tools the gardener is using, hesitates, picks it up, and starts probing the pond around it, towards the gleaming object. He then spots Evelyn rounding a turn, coming down the trellis pathway. He casually belts the probe, holding it up for poise. Evelyn is wearing jeans that are lathered white on the inside and of the thighs and laced with brown horsehair. She's wearing riding boots, and is perspiring a little, but looks younger than she did in the office.
Yes, Mr. Giddies.
Giddy's is a little taken back by seeing Evelyn. He is annoyed as well. Nevertheless, he is elaborately polite.
Actually, I'm here to see your husband, Miss Mulroy.
He laughs. A little nervously, he waits for a reply. There is none. The Chinese butler appears at the veranda.
Would you like something to drink?
What are you having?
Iced tea.
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
The Chinese butler nods, then disappears. Exterior, pond and garden, Mulray's house, day. Evelyn sits at a glass-top table. Giddy's joins her.
My husband's at the office.
Actually, he's not, and he's moved from his apartment at the El Macondo.
That's not his apartment.
Anyway, the point is, Miss Mulray, I'm not in business to be loved, but I am in business, and believe me, whoever set up your husband set me up. LA's a small town. People talk.
He waits for a response. Then
I'm just trying to make a living, and I don't want to become a local joke.
Mr. Giddies, you've talked me into it. I'll drop the lawsuit.
What?
I said I'll drop it.
the iced tea comes down on the tray, which Raymond sets down between them.
So let's just drop the whole thing. Sugar, lemon.
Mrs. Mulray,
Yes, Mr. Giddies.
I don't want to drop it.
Evelyn looks up. Giddy smiles a little sheepishly.
I should talk this over with your husband.
Why? What on earth for? Look, Hollis seems to think you're an innocent man.
Well, I've been accused of many things, Miss Mulray, but never that.
Again, he laughs a little nervously. Again, no reaction.
You see, somebody went to a lot of trouble here, and I want to find out, lawsuit or no lawsuit. I'm not the one who's supposed to be caught with my pants down. So I'd like to see your husband, unless that's a problem.
What do you mean?
May I speak frankly, Miss Mulray?
You may, if you can, Mr. Giddies.
Well, that little girlfriend, she was attractive. In a cheap sort of way, of course. She's disappeared. Maybe they disappeared together somewhere?
Suppose they did. How does it concern you?
Nothing personal, Miss Mulray. I just,
It's very personal. It couldn't be more personal. Is this a business or an obsession with you?
Look at it this way. Now, this phony broad, excuse the language, says she's you. She's hired me. Whoever put her up to it didn't have anything against me. They were out to get your husband. Now, if I can see him, I can help him. Did you talk to him this morning?
Evelyn brushes lightly at a horse hair on her jeans.
No, I went riding rather early.
Looks like you went quite a distance.
No, just riding bareback. That's all. Anyway, you might try the Oak Pass or Stone Canyon Reservoir. And sometimes at lunch, Hollis takes walks around them. Otherwise, he'll be home by 6:30.
I'll stop by.
Please call first.
Giddy's nods. External Oak Pass Reservoir, day. Giddy drives up the winding road, following the flood channel and into the parched hills. 2 fire trucks, one a rescue truck, are at the entrance of the reservoir. The chain link fence with its keep out sign is open, and there are people milling around. The reservoir is below. Giddy's car is stopped by the couple of uniformed officers. That's me. Sorry. It's closed to the public. Giddy's hesitates for a moment, then
It's all right. Russ Yelburton, deputy chief in the department.
he fishes out one of Yelburton's cards from his handkerchief pocket, hands it to the guard. Sorry, Miss Yelburton. Go on down. Giddy drives past the guards through the gate along the reservoir. He spots a police car and an unmasked one as well. Giddy stops and gets out of the car. Several men with their backs turned, one talking quietly, staring into the reservoir, where other men in small skiffs are apparently dredging for something. One of the men turns and sees Giddy. He recognizes Giddy's and is visibly shocked.
Giddies, for Christ's sakes.
Loach.
Come on, get out of here before,
Exterior reservoir, day. Loach tries to ease him down the path.
Before what? What the hell's going on?
At the sound of his raised voice, a man standing at the edge of the channel, talking to the 2 boys swimming in trucks, turns around. He's a tall, sleek Mexican in his early 30s, Luis Escobar. Both Giddies and Escobar register considerable surprise at seeing one another. The men around them are extremely uneasy. Loach is actually sweating. Finally, Escobar smiles.
Hello, Jake.
How are you, Lou?
I have a cold. I can't seem to shake. But other than that, I'm fine.
Summer colds are the worst.
Yeah, they are.
Giddies reaches into his pocket, pulls out his cigarette case. A fireman says to him,
No smoking, sir. It's a fire hazard this time of year.
I think we can make an exception. I'll see he's careful with the matches.
Thanks, Lou.
How'd you get past the guards?
Well, to tell you the truth, I lied a little.
Escobar nods. They walk a couple of steps. The other police, 2 plainclothesmen, and a uniform officer watch them.
You've done well for yourself.
I get by.
Well, sometimes it takes a while for a man to find himself. I guess you have.
Poking around in other people's dirty business, linen.
Yeah, tell me, you still throw Chinamen into jail for spitting on the laundry?
You're behind the times, Jake. Doing steam irons now. And I'm out of Chinatown.
Since when?
Since I made lieutenant.
It's apparent Giddies is impressed despite himself.
Congratulations.
Uh-huh. So what are you doing here?
Looking for someone.
Who?
Horace Mulray. Have you seen him?
Yep.
I'd like to talk to him.
You're welcome to try. There he is.
Escobar points down to the reservoir. excuse me, a couple men with hooks are fishing about in the water. It can be seen that one of them have hooked something. He shouts, the other man hooks it too. They pull, revealing the soaking back of a man's coat. They start to pull the body into the skiff. Interior coroner's office. Evelyn and Escobar are standing over the body of Mulray. Escobar has the sheet drawn back. Evelyn nods. Escobar drops the sheet. Escobar and Evelyn move a few feet to one side and whisper, almost as though they were trying to keep the corpse from hearing them.
Looks like he was washed the entire length of the runoff channel. Could he swim?
Of course.
Obviously, the fall must have knocked him out.
Evelyn nods slightly. Escobar coughs. A coroner's assistant wheels the body out of the office.
This alleged affair he was having, the publicity didn't make him morose or unhappy.
Outside the coroner's, Geddes had been sitting on the wooden bench, smoking and listening. At this question, he rises and looks through the doorway. Escobar sees him, ignores him. Evelyn doesn't see him.
Well, it didn't make him happy.
But there's no possibility he would have taken his own life.
No.
Ms. Mulray, do you happen to know the name of the young woman in question?
Evelyn shows a
No.
flash of annoyance.
No,
Do you know where she might be?
certainly not.
Escobar and Evelyn move slowly toward the door.
So you and your husband never discussed her?
Well, he did. But he wouldn't tell me her name. We quarreled over her, of course, but it came as a complete surprise to me.
A complete surprise?
Yes,
I thought you hired a private investigator.
a private investigator?
Mr. Geddes.
Well, yes.
Evelyn looks up to see Geddes standing in the doorway only a foot or two from her. She stops cold. They look at one another for a long moment.
But I did that because I thought it was a nasty rumor that I'd put an end to it to.
She finishes, looks plaintively at Geddes. Escobar is right at her back. Geddes says nothing.
And when did Mr. Geddes inform you that these rumors were foundation in fact?
Evelyn looks at Escobar, but doesn't know how to answer him.
Just before the story broke in the papers, Lou.
Escobar nods. They begin to walk slowly. Again, have to move out of the way of some other corpses being wheeled out of one of the coroner's cubicles.
Hey, you wouldn't happen to know the present whereabouts of this young woman
No,
or her name?
no.
They have walked a few steps further down the hall.
Will you need me for anything else, Lieutenant?
I don't think so, Ms. Mulray. Of course, you have my deepest sympathies. And if we need any more information, we'll be in touch.
I'll walk her to the car. Be right back.
Escobar's point of view. Evelyn glances at Geddes. They go through a couple of outer doors and past several reporters who have been in the outer hall, laughing, kidding. The tag end of lines like "Only in LA" and "Southern Cafeteria." Geddes hurries past the reporters who flank them, asking questions. Geddes brushes them aside. Evelyn and Geddes at her car. In a small parking lot, Evelyn fumbles in her bag, looking feverishly for something in her purse.
Miss Mulray,
Just a minute.
you left your keys in the ignition.
Oh, thank you.
She glances down, leans against the side of the car.
Thank you for going along with me. I just didn't want to explain anything. I'll send you a check
A check?
Evelyn gets in her car.
to make it official. I hired you.
She drives off, leaving Geddes gaping. Interior coroner's office hallway.
Don't give me that, Lou. You hauled me down here for a statement.
Escobar shrugs.
I don't want it anymore.
No?
Nah, it was an accident.
You mean that's what you're going to call it?
That's right.
Escobar,
Out of respect for his civil position.
resume walking. Giddy's laughs.
What did he do, Lou? Make a pass at your sister?
Escobar stops.
No, he drowned a cousin of mine with about $500, or with about 500 other people. But they weren't very important. Just a hunch about just a bunch of dumb Mexicans living by the dam. Now beat it, Giddies. You don't come out smelling like a rose, did you?
Oh, yeah. Can you think of something to charge me with?
When I do, you'll hear about it.
Giddy's nods, turns, and walks down the hall. Outside morgue. Giddy stops by a body on the table. The toe tag with Mulray's name. Morty is standing near it in a doorway to an adjoining room. A radio is on, and with it the announcement that they are about to hear another chapter in the life of Lorenzo Jones and his devoted wife, Belle. Another coroner's assistant sits at the table, listening to the radio and eating a sandwich. Giddy's ambles into the room.
Jake, what you doing here?
Nothing, Morty. It's my lunch hour. I thought I'd drop by and see who died lately.
Giddy's picks up the sheet and pulls it back. Camera gets its first glimpse of Mulray's body. Eyes open, the face badly cut and bruised.
Yeah, ain't that something, huh? Middle of a drought. You own the water commissioner drowns. Only in LA.
Yeah, banged up pretty bad.
It's a long fall.
So, how are you, Morty?
Morty is wheeling in another body with the help of an assistant.
Never better. You know me, Jake.
As he begins to move the body into the refrigerator, he breaks into a wrenching spasm of coughing. He spots the other body, lowers the sheet on Mulray.
Yeah. So, who you got there?
Morty pulls back the sheet.
Leroy Shuhart, local drunk, used to hang around Ferguson's alley.
Morty brushes the sand from the man's face, laughs.
Quite a character. Lately, been living in one of the downtown storm drains. You know, had a bureau dresser down there and everything.
Gideon has already lost the interview. He starts away.
Yeah.
Drowned too, huh?
This stops Gideon.
Come again?
Yeah. Got dead drunk, passed out in the bottom of the riverbed.
The LA River.
Yeah, on the Hollenbeck Bridge. What's wrong with that?
Gideon has moved back to the body, looks at it more closely.
It's bone dry, Morty.
It's not completely dry.
Well, yeah, he ain't gonna drown in a damp riverbed either. I don't care how soused he was. That's like drowning in a teaspoon.
Morty shrugs.
We got water out of him, Jake. He drowned.
Gideon walks away mumbling.
This is town.
Exterior Sunset Boulevard, Giddy's day. He is parked in an overpass. The sign, Hollenbeck Bridge, on one of its concrete columns. Giddy's looks down into the riverbed below. From the bridge, Giddy's can see the muddy remains of a collapsed shack, its contents strewn down the river from the bridge. Below him, lying half over the storm drain, and one wall that was on the bank of the river is a sign that proclaims, "Own your own office in this building, $5,000 to $6,000, which was used as a roof of sorts. Downstream, there's a dresser, an oil drum, a Ford seat cushion, an Armour lard can, etc. The trashy remains of Shuhart's home." Giddy scrambles down the bankment, and as he lands near the storm drain, one shoe sinks, ankle deep into mud. Giddy pulls it out, swearing. He begins to walk a little further downstream, and he hears a vaguely familiar squish clop of something. Clearing the bridge on the opposite side is a little Mexican boy, again on his swayback horse, riding along the muddy bank. They look at one another a moment.
You were riding here the other day, weren't you?
The boy doesn't answer.
Speak English? Habla inglés.
Oh, see.
Didn't you talk to a man here a few days ago? Wore glasses.
The boy nods.
What did you talk about? Mind my asking?
The shadows of the two are very long now.
The water,
What about the water?
when it comes,
When it comes? What'd you tell him?
comes in different parts of the river. Every night, a different part.
Giddys nods. The horse snorts. The boy rides slowly on. Exterior riverbed, dusk. Giddys scrambles up the embankment to note the direction the storm drain by Hollenbach Bridge takes. It is headed above toward the Hollywood Hills, where the sun is setting. Exterior, Giddys in car, nightfall. Winding his way up the section of the Hollywood Hills, he picks up on an open flood channel with a spotlight by the driver's wind wing. Giddys in car moving. Along the flood channel, it is now dark. It is dark now, and Giddys follows the channel with the car spotlight. He turns at a fork in the road, which allows him to continue following the flood channel. Further up moving. The road is narrower. Giddys drives more slowly. Foliage is overgrown in the channel, so its bottom cannot be glimpsed. Still further, night. The road is dirt. Heavy clusters of oak trees and eucalyptus are everywhere. It is very still. Another turn and a pie-shaped view of the lake of lights in the city below can be glimpsed. Point of view, chain link fence. Over the road, bolted. It says Oak Pass Reservoir. Keep out, no trespassing. The chain link itself actually extends over the flood channel and down into it, making access along the channel itself impossible. Giddys backs up, turns off the motor, the car lights, the spotlight. A lone light overhead on tension wires is the sole illumination. There is only the eerie sound of the tension wires humming. Giddys gets out of the car, clubs the fence near the flood channel itself. On the other side, Giddys carefully works his way up through the thick foliage towards a second large chain link fence. Lights from the reservoir still higher above can be seen. Suddenly there is a gunshot, then another. Giddys dives into the flood control channel, which is at this point about 4 feet deep and 6 feet wide. There's the sound of men scurrying through the brush, coming near him, then retreating. Giddys loses himself among the ivy in the channel. He waits. The men seem to have passed him by, but there is another sound now, an echoing, growing sound. It puzzles Giddys. He starts to lift his head to catch the direction. Giddys in flood control channel night, when he is inundated with the rush of water which pours over him, knocks off his hat, carries him down the channel, banging into the banks. He desperately tries to grab the overgrowth to hang on to and pull himself out. But the force of the stream batters him and carries him with him until he is brought rudely to the chain link fence. It stops him cold. He nearly strained through it. Swearing and choking, he pulls himself up out of the rushing water by means of the fence itself. Drenched, battered, he slowly climbs up over the fence and makes his way toward the car. At Giddys' car, he fishes for the car keys, looks down. One shoe is missing.
God damn Forsheim shoe. God damn it.
He starts to get into his car, but Mulvihill and a smaller man stop him. Mulvihill, pulling his coat down and pinning his arms, holding him tightly. The smaller man thrusts a switchblade knife about 1.5 inches up Giddys' left nostril.
Hold it there, kitty cat.
Close, Giddys. Frozen, the knife in his nostril, the street lamp overhead gleaming in the silvery blade.
You're a very nosy fella, kitty cat. You know what happens to nosy fellas, huh?
The smaller man actually seems to be trembling with rage when he says this. Giddys doesn't move.
You want to guess? No? Okay, they lose their noses.
With a quick flick, the smaller man pulls back on the blade, laying Giddys' left nostril open about 1 inch further. Giddys screams. Blood gushes down into his shirt and coat. Giddys bends over, instinctively trying to keep the blood from getting on his clothes. Mulvihill and the smaller man stare at him.
Next time you lose the whole thing, kitty cat, I'll cut it off. I'll feed it to my goldfish. You understand?
Tell me you understand, Giddys.
Exterior Oak Passage Reservoir night. Giddys is now groveling on his hands and knees.
I understand.
Giddys on the ground can only see his tormentor's two-tone brown and white wing-tip shoes, lightly freckled with his blood. The shoe comes up, lightly shoves Giddys onto the ground. The sound of footsteps retreating, Giddys gasping. Interior Giddys' office, Giddys sits behind his desk, back to the camera, not moving. Duffy sits staring at nothing. Walsh moves uneasily around the room. The phone is ringing. Sophie buzzes.
Yeah, Sophie.
Miss Sessions calling?
Who?
Ida Sessions?
Don't know her. Take a number.
New angle revealing a band-aid spread eagle across Giddy's nose.
So some contractor wants to build a dam and he makes a few payoffs. So what?
Giddy slowly turns to Walsh. He lightly taps his nose.
Think you can nail Mulville Hill? They'll claim you were trespassing.
I don't want Mulvihill. I want the big boys that are making the payoffs.
Then what do?
Sue the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's what's wrong with you guys. Think ahead. We find them, sue them. We'll make a killing. We'll have a dinner at Chasen's twice a week. We'll be pissing on ice the rest of our lives.
Sue people like that, they're liable to be having dinner with the judge who's trying the suit.
Giddy's looks irritated. The phone rings again. Oh, me, sorry. Miss Ida Sessions again? She says you know her.
Okay.
Giddies picks up the phone. He winks to his boys.
Hello, Miss Sessions. I don't believe we've had the pleasure.
Oh, yes, we have. Are you alone, Mr. Giddy?
Isn't everybody? What can I do for you, Miss Sessions?
Walsh promptly starts to tell Duffy the Admiral Byrd story.
Well, I'm a working girl, Mr. Giddies. I didn't come in to see you on my own.
When did you come in?
I was the one who pretended to be Mrs. Mulray, remember?
Walsh has finished off the punchline, and both of the men are laughing raucously. Giddies drops the mail, and he's been loafing through and puts his hand over the receiver.
Shut the fuck up. Yes, I remember. Nothing, Miss Sessions. Just going over a detail or two with my associates. You were saying?
Well, I never expected anything to happen like what happened to Mr. Mulray. The point is, if it ever comes out, I want somebody to know I didn't know what would happen.
I understand. If you could tell me who employed you, Miss Sessions, that could help us both.
Oh, no.
Why don't you give me your address and we can talk this over?
No, Mr. Giddies. Just look in the obituary column of today's Times.
The obituary column?
You'll find one of those people.
Those people? Miss Sessions.
She hangs up. Giddies looks to his two men. Interior brown derby, close on newspaper. Giddies is seated, flips through the paper until he finds the obituary column, scans it, looks up, abruptly tears the column from the paper and puts it in his pocket. When he closes the paper, we can see the headline in the left-hand column. Water bond issue passes council. $10 million referendum to go before the public. Evelyn Mulray is standing at the table as he does so. He rises, allows her to sit. Giddies watches her as she removes her gloves slowly. She's wearing dove gray guardline, subdued tailored.
Thanks for coming. Drink?
The waiters appeared. Evelyn is looking at Giddy's nose.
Tom Collins with lime, not lemon, please.
Evelyn looks down and smooths her gloves. When she looks back up, she stares expectantly at Giddies. Giddies pulls out a torn envelope. The initials ECM can be seen in a delicate scroll on the corner of it.
I got your check in the mail.
Yes, as I said, I was very grateful.
Giddies fingers the envelope. He coughs.
Miss Mulray, I'm afraid that's not good enough.
Well, how much would you like?
Stop it. The money's fine. It's generous, but you've shortchanged me on the story.
I have.
I think so. Something besides your husband's death was bothering you. You were upset, but not that upset.
Mr. Giddies, don't tell me how I feel.
The drinks come. The waiter sets them down.
Sorry. Look, you sue me, your husband dies, you drop the lawsuit like a hot potato, and all of it quicker than wind from a duck's ass. Excuse me. Then you ask me to lie to the police.
It wasn't much of a lie.
If your husband was killed, it was. This can look like you paid me off to withhold evidence.
But he wasn't killed.
Giddy smiles.
I think you're hiding something, Miss Mulway.
Evelyn remains unperturbed.
Well, I suppose I am. Actually, I knew about the affair.
How did you find out?
My husband.
He told you?
Evelyn nods.
And you weren't the slightest bit upset about it.
I was grateful.
Evelyn, for the first time, appears a little embarrassed.
You'll have to explain that, Miss Mulway.
Why?
Look, I do matrimonial work. It's my métier. But when a wife tells me she's happy her husband is cheating on her, it runs contrary to my experience.
Giddy's looks significantly to Evelyn.
Unless what?
She's cheating on him.
Evelyn doesn't reply.
Were you?
Evelyn is clearly angry, but she is controlling it.
I don't like the word cheat.
Did you have affairs?
Mr. Giddies.
Did he know?
Well, he wouldn't run home and tell him. I wouldn't run home and tell him whenever I went to bed with someone, if that's what you mean.
This subdues Giddy's a little. Evelyn is still a little heated.
Is there anything else you want to know?
Where were you when your husband died?
I can't tell you.
You mean you don't know where you were?
I mean, I can't tell you.
You were seeing someone too.
Evelyn looks squarely at him. She doesn't deny it.
For very long?
I don't see anyone for very long, Mr. Giddies. It's difficult for me. Now, I think you know all you need to about me. I didn't want publicity. I didn't want to go into any of this, then or now. Is this all?
Giddy's nods.
Oh, by the way, what's the C stand for?
He's been fingering the envelope.
Cross.
That's your maiden name?
Yes. Why?
No reason.
Evelyn turns into Giddy's.
You must have had a reason to ask me that.
No, I'm just a snoop.
You seem to have had a reason for every other question.
No, not for that one.
I don't believe you.
Giddy suddenly turns sharply into Evelyn.
Do me a favor. Sit still and act like I'm charming.
Evelyn involuntarily draws back.
There's somebody here. Say something. Anything. Something like we're being intimate.
Evelyn reluctantly allows Giddy to move closer and dangle his hand in front of their face. She stares at him.
How did it happen?
Been meaning to talk to you about that.
Maybe putting your nose in other people's business?
More like other people putting their business in my nose.
Evelyn actually smiles a little.
You son of a gun.
And I lost my spot.
Kitty looks up.
Kitty looks up and flashes a smile.
Mrs. Match, how are you?
Miss Match is swaying over the table, a plump woman with a glass of whiskey in one hand, a large purse in the other, and a menacing look in her eyes.
Don't give me that, you son of a gun.
Okay.
Giddy turns back to Evelyn.
Another satisfied client?
Another satisfied client's wife.
Look at me, you son of a gun. You bastard! Are you happy? Are you happy now?
She tries to take a swipe at Giddy with her purse. Giddy covers himself. Waiters rush over.
You smug son of a gun. My husband's so upset he sweats all night. How do you think that makes me feel?
Sweaty?
Miss Match swings at Giddy again and again. She catches him on the nose. It hurts. He covers it, then swings his leg out from under the table and deftly kicks her in the shin. Miss Match drops her purse and spills her drinks. She grabs her chin hopping around like a little. The waiters who had tried to restrain her now try to keep her from falling over.
Let's get out of here before she picks up her purse.
They rise and move toward the door.
Tough guy, huh?
Giddys looks, sees she's kidding, and nods. Outside in the parking lot, dusk, Giddy's car has been brought up by the parking attendant. The attendant opens the passenger side for Evelyn.
Oh, no, I've got my own car. The cream-colored Packard.
Wait a minute, Sonny. I think you better come with me.
What for? I mean, there's nothing more to say. You get my car, please.
The attendant starts after it. Giddy's leans on the open door of his car and into Evelyn. He talks quietly, but spits it out.
Okay, go home. But in case you're interested, your husband was murdered. Somebody's dumping tons of water out of the city's reservoir when we're supposed to be supposedly in the middle of a drought. He found out and he was killed. There's a waterlogged drunk in the morgue. Involuntary manslaughter, if anybody wants to take the trouble, which they don't. It looks like half the city is trying to cover it all up, which is fine with me, but Miss Mulray, I goddamn near lost my nose. And I like breathing through. And I still think you're hiding something.
Evelyn steadies herself on the open car door. She stares at Giddys for a long moment, then he gently tugs the door closed.
Mr. Giddies.
He drives off into Wilshire traffic, leaving Evelyn looking after him. Interior DWP Mulray's office door. With its lettering Hollis I. Mulray, Chief Engineer, Giddys goes through the door to the secretary. He looks up. She recognizes Giddys again and is not happy to see him.
J.J. Cates to see Mr. Yelburton.
The secretary immediately gets up and goes into the inner office. Giddys turns and strolls around the office for a moment. He sees a photographic display of the history of the DWP, the early years. Along the wall, he stops and he spots a photo of the man with the cane Giddys had seen in the photos earlier. He is standing high in the mountains near a pass. The caption reads, Julian Cross, 1905. Cross is strikingly handsome. Giddys immediately pulls out the envelope containing Evelyn's check. He looks at the corner of it, his thumb pressing down under the middle initial C. Then he looks back up to the photos. The secretary returns.
Mr. Yelverton will be busy for some time.
Well, I'm on my lunch hour, so I'll wait.
He's liable to be tied up indefinitely.
I take a long lunch, all day sometimes.
Giddys pulls out a cigarette case, offers the secretary one. She refuses. He lights up and begins to hum, The Way You Look Tonight, strolling along the wall, looking at more photographs. Interior Mulray's office. Here he spots several photos of a much younger Mulray, along with Julian Cross. One of the captions, Hollis Mulray and Julian Cross at the aqueduct clears the Santa Susana Pass, 1912. Giddys, still humming, turns to the secretary.
Julian Cross worked for the water department?
Yes. No.
He did or he didn't?
He owned it.
Giddys is genuinely surprised at this.
He owned the water department.
Yes.
He owned the entire water supply for the city.
Yes.
How did they get it away from him?
Mr. Mulray felt the public should own the display, the water. If you'll just read the display.
Mulray. I thought you said Cross owned the department.
Along with Mr. Mulray.
They were partners.
Yes. Yes, they were partners.
She gets up, annoyed, and goes to Yelburton's inner office. Giddys goes back to the photographs. He hears a scratching sound, apparently coming from outside the outer door. He moves quickly to it, hesitates, swiftly opens the door. Workmen are behind it, scraping away Mulray's name on the outer door, looking up at Giddys in some surprise. The secretary returns, sees the workmen on the floor.
Mr. Yelverton will see you now.
Giddy's nods graciously, heads into Yelburton's office. Interior DWP Yelburton and Giddy's. There is a subtle but perceptible difference in Yelburton's attitude. He's now head of the department.
Mr. Giddy, sorry to keep you waiting. These staff meetings, they just go on and on.
Yeah, must be especially tough to take over under these circumstances.
Oh, yes. Hollis was the best department head this city's ever had. My goodness, what happened to your nose?
I cut myself shaving.
You ought to be more careful. That must really smart.
Only when I breathe.
Only when you breathe. Don't tell me you're still working for Mrs. Mulray.
I never was.
I don't understand.
Neither do I, actually. But you hired me, or you hired that chippy to hire me.
Mr. Geddes, you're not making a bit of sense.
Well, look at it this way, Mr. Yelburton. Mulray didn't want to build a dam, and he had a reputation that was hard to get around. So you decided to ruin it. Then he found out that you were dumping water every night. Then he was drowned.
Mr. Geddes, that's an outrageous accusation. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, Whitey Melhortz over at the Times will, dumping thousands of gallons of water down the toilet in the middle of a drought. That's news.
Giddy's heads toward the door.
Wait, please sit down, Mr. Geddes. We're not anxious for this to get around, but we have been diverting a little water to irrigate avocado and walnut groves in the Northwest Valley. As you know, the farmers there have no legal right to our water. And since the drought, we've had to cut them off. The city comes first, naturally, but we've been trying to help some of them out, keep them from going under. Naturally, when you divert water, you get a little runoff.
Yeah, a little runoff. Where are those orchards?
I said the Northwest Valley.
That's like saying they're in Arizona.
Mr. Geddes, my field men are out and I can't give you an exact location.
Giddy's nods.
You're a married man, am I right?
Yes.
Hardworking, have a wife and kids.
Yes.
I don't want to nail you. I just want to know who put you up to it. I'll give you a few days to think it over. Call me. I can help. Who knows? Maybe we can lay the whole thing off on a few big shots, and you can stay head of the department for the next 20 years.
Unsmiling Yelburton. Interior Giddy's office. Giddy's enters, drops his hat on Sophie's desk. Sophie tries to tell him something, but Giddy's goes into his office. Evelyn Mulray is sitting, smoking. She looks up when he enters.
What's your usual salary?
Giddy's moves to his desk, barely breaking his stride at the sight of her.
$35 daily for me, 20 for each of my operators, plus expenses, plus my fee if I show results.
He's sitting now. Evelyn is very pale now, obviously very shaken.
Whoever's behind my husband's death, why have they gone to all this trouble?
Money. How they plan to make it by emptying the reservoirs, that I don't know.
I'll pay your salary plus $5,000 if you find out what happened to Hollis and who was involved.
Giddy's buzzes Sophie.
Sophie, draw up one of our standard forms for Miss Mulray. Tell me, did you get married before or after Mulray and your father sold the water department?
Evelyn nearly jumps at the question.
Your father is Julian Cross, isn't he?
Yes, of course. It was quite a while after. I was just out of grade school when they did that.
So you married your father's business partner?
Evelyn nods. She lights another cigarette.
You've got one thing going, Miss Mulray.
Oh.
She quickly stubs one out.
Is there something upsetting about my asking about your father?
No. Yes, a little. You see, Hollis and my father had a falling out.
Over the water department or over you?
Not over me. Why would they have a falling out over me?
Then it was over the water department.
Not exactly. Well, I mean, yes. Yes and no. Hollis felt the public should own the water, but I don't think my father felt that way. Actually, it was over the Vanderlip, the dam that broke.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, he never forgave him for it,
Never forgave him for what?
for talking him into building it. He never forgave my father. They haven't spoken to this day.
You sure shout that.
Of course, I'm sure.
What about you? Do you and your father get along?
Sophie comes in with the form, cutting off Evelyn's reply. Giddys places 2 copies on a coffee table in front of Evelyn.
Sign here. The other copy's for you.
She signs it. When she looks back up, Giddys is staring intently at her.
What are you thinking?
Before this, I turned on the faucet. It came out hot and cold. I didn't think there was a thing to it.
Interior seaplane. The engineers make the small cabin vibrate. Giddys threads his way down to a tiny aisle of the 8-passenger cabin, which is full of middle-aged men in old clothes and their fishing gear. Giddys is poked by a pole, has to move along. One of the old men says something to him.
What?
You'll have to go sit over by the pilot.
Giddys moves forward into the cockpit. The pilot looks up, nods for Giddys to sit down, first moving a half-eaten cheese sandwich out of Giddys' seat. Exterior harbor seaplane, taxiing down the ramp into the sea. In a moment, it kicks up a spray of foam and takes off. Interior cockpit, the island gradually looming larger before the pilot and Giddys. The pilot glances over at Giddys, who, as usual, is impeccably dressed, a contrast to the others on the plane.
Well, you're not going fishing.
Giddys shakes his head.
Not exactly.
Yeah, but that's what you told your wife.
The pilot laughs raucously. Giddys laughs politely.
Lots of fellas do. Told a little woman that they're going out fishing trips, and they smack up some little twist on the island. That she pretty?
I'm going to see a man called Julian Cross. Ever heard of him?
Is the Pope Catholic? You're pretty. Who are you, mister? I'm gonna ask. Hold on.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I asked because I don't see a lot of people out here.
I'm working for his daughter.
That's right. Well, she's some kind of looker.
She ain't exactly long in the tooth now.
She must be what? 33, 34?
You must be thinking of a different daughter.
Nah, he's only got one. I remember her age. I was reading it in the newspaper that she ran away.
She ran away.
Oh, yeah. That's a big thing at the time. Julian Cross' daughter. Almighty, she was a wild little thing.
He gives a sidelong glance at Giddys, a little concerned he said too much.
Of course, she settled down nicely.
Well, you never know, do you?
Oh, that's for sure.
Why'd she run away?
Oh, she was 16 or 17.
We missed the best of it, didn't we, pal?
Both men laugh a little lewdly.
She ran off to Mexico. Rumor has she was knocked up and didn't even know who the father was. Went down there to get rid of it.
You don't say.
Cross is looking at her for all over the country. Offered rewards and everything. Felt real pretty sorry for her with all that money of his.
Albacore Club Day. A pleasant but unobtrusive clapboard blue and white building on the bay overlooking the harbor. The seaplane lands, a motor launch with a bird of a fish flying from it turns and heads in the direction of the plane. Exterior winding road, Rancho del Cruz. Giddys driven into a station wagon, passes under the sign with the cross painted below the name. The ranch itself is only partially in the valley on the island. As the wagon continues, One can see that it is actually a miniature California encompassing desert, mountains and canyon that tumble down the Palisades to the windward side of the sea. The wagon excuse me. The wagon comes to a halt where a group of hands are clustered around a coral. Wait, I think okay. We're doing intermission right after this. Around a coral, the circle of men drift apart, leaving Julian Cross standing, using a cane for support, reedy but handsome, in a rough linen shirt and jeans. When he talks, his strong face is lively. In repose, it looks ravaged.
Exterior bridle path, Giddies and Cross. Walking toward the main house, a classic Monterey. A horse led on a halter by another ranch hand slows down and defecates in the center of the path they are taking. Giddies doesn't notice.
Horseshit.
Giddies pauses. Not certain.
I said horseshit. Horseshit.
Sir? Yes, sir. That's what it looks like. I'll give you that.
Cross pauses when they reach a dung pile. He removes his hat and waves it, inhales deeply.
Love the smell of it. A lot of people do, but of course they won't admit it. Look at the shit.
Giddies glances down out of politeness.
Always the same.
Cross walks on, Giddies follows.
Always?
What? Oh, damn near. Yes, unless the animal's sick or something. And the steam rising off of it? Like that in the morning. That's life, Mr. Giddies. Life.
They move on.
Perhaps this preoccupation with horseshit may seem a little perverse, but I ask you to remember this. One way or another, it's what I've dealt in all my life. Let's have breakfast.
Exterior courtyard veranda. Giddies and Cross at breakfast. Below them is a corral where Hans takes Arabians one by one to work them out, letting them run and literally kick up their heels. Cross's attention is diverted by the animals from time to time. An impeccable Mexican butler serves them their main course, broiled fish.
You know, you got a nasty reputation, Mr. Giddies. I like that.
Thanks.
If you were a bank president, that would be one thing, but in your business, it's admirable and it's good advertising.
Doesn't hurt.
It's why you attract a client like my daughter.
Probably.
But I'm surprised you're still working for her unless she's suddenly come up with another husband.
No, she happens to think the last one was murdered.
Cross is visibly surprised.
How did she get that idea?
I think I gave it to her.
Cross nods.
Uh-huh. I hope you don't mind. I believe they should be served with the head.
Giddies glances down at the fish, whose glass eye is glazed over with the heat of cooking.
Fine, as long as you don't serve chicken that way.
Tell me, what did the police say?
They're calling it an accident.
Who's the investigating officer?
Lou Escobar. He's a lieutenant.
Do you know him?
Oh, yes.
Where from?
We worked Chinatown together.
Would you call him a capable man?
Very.
Honest?
Fair as it goes. Of course, he has to swim in the same water we all do.
Of course, but you got no reason to think he's bundled with the case?
None.
That's too bad.
Too bad?
It disturbs me, Mr. Geddes. It makes me think you're taking my daughter for a ride, financially speaking, of course. How much are you charging her?
My usual fee plus a bonus if I come up with any results.
Are you sleeping with her? Come, Mr. Geddes. You don't have to think about that to remember, do you?
These laughs.
If you want an answer to that question, I can always put one of my men on the job. Good afternoon, Mr. Cross.
Mr. Geddes, you're dealing with a disturbed woman who's lost her husband. I don't want her taken advantage of. Now sit down.
What for?
You may think you know what you're dealing with, but believe me, you don't.
This stops Geddes. He seems faintly amused by it.
Why is that funny?
It's what the DA used to tell me about Chinatown.
Was he right?
Giddys shrugs.
Exactly. What do you know about me, Mr. Geddes?
Mainly that you're rich and too respectable to want your name in the papers.
Of course I'm respectable. I'm old. Politicians, ugly buildings, and whores all get respectable if they last long enough. I'll double whatever your fees are, and I'll pay you $10,000 if you can find Hollis's girlfriend.
His girlfriend?
Yes, his girlfriend.
You mean the little chippy he was with at the El Macondo?
Yes, she's disappeared, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Doesn't that strike you as odd?
No, she's probably scared to death.
Wouldn't it be useful to talk to her?
Maybe.
If Mulray was murdered, she was probably one of the last people to see him.
You didn't see Mulray much, did you?
No.
When was the last time?
Cross starts to reply. Then there's a sound of a mariachi band and some men in a formation clear above about 100 yards off. They are dressed like Spanish dons on horseback. For the most part, they are fat in the saddle and pass along in disorder review to the music.
Sheriff's Gold Posse, bunch of damn fools who pay $5,000 apiece to the sheriff's reelection. I let them practice out here.
Yeah. Do you remember the last time you talked to Mulray?
Cross shakes his head.
At my age, you tend to lose track.
Well, it was about 5 days ago. You were outside the Pig and Whistle and you had one hell of an argument.
Cross looks at Giddys in some real surprise.
I've got the photographs in my office, if they'll help you remember. What was that argument about?
My daughter.
What about her?
Just find the girl, Mr. Geddes. I think she is frightened, and I happen to know Hollis was fond of her. I'd like to help her if I can.
I didn't realize you and Hollis were so fond of each other.
Cross looks hatefully at Giddys.
Hollis Mulray made the city, and he made a fortune. We were a lot closer than Evelyn realized.
If you want to hire me, I still have to know what you and Mulray were arguing about.
Well, she's an extremely jealous person. I didn't want her to find out about the girl.
How did you find out?
I still got a few teeth in my head, Mr. Gillies, and a few friends in town.
Okay. My secretary will send you a letter of agreement. Tell me, are you worried about that girl or what Evelyn might do to her?
Just find the girl.
I'll look into it as soon as I check out some avocado groves.
Avocado groves?
We'll be in touch, Mr. Cross.
Interior Hall of Records day. Dark and quiet except for the whirring of fans. Giddys approaches one of the clerks at the desk.
I'm a little lost. Where can I find the plat books for the Northwest Valley?
The clerk's droopy eyes widen a little.
Oh, part of it's in Ventura County. We don't have Ventura County in our Hall of Records.
Which is a snotty remark. Giddys smiles.
I'll settle for LA County.
Row 23, Section C.
The clerk turns away abruptly. Giddys regards his back a moment, then goes to the stacks. Through the stacks, Giddys sees the clerk turn to another, say something. The second clerk gets on the phone. Giddys watches a moment, then swiftly turns his attention to the stacks. He hauls down the Northwest Valley volume, opens it. It's huge and there's lots to go through. The print itself makes him squint. Insert page, show tract, lot, parcel, even a meets and bounds designation where the description of the land parcel is long and hopelessly involved. Example, 60 paces to Rio Seco, thence 7,000 paces to Loma Linda, etc. These descriptions are old and faded. In the owner's column, however, there are numerous freshly typed names pasted over the prior owners. Giddys hauls the huge volume back to the clerk's desk.
Hey, Sonny.
The clerk turns sharply around.
How come all these new names are pasted into the plat book?
Land sales out of escrow are always recorded within the week.
Giddys looks a little surprised.
Then these are all new owners?
That's right.
but that means that most of the valley's been sold in the last few months.
If that's what it says.
Can I check one of these volumes out?
Sir, this is not a lending library. It's the Hall of Records.
Well, then how about a ruler?
A ruler?
The print's pretty fine. I forgot my glasses. I'd like to be able to read across.
The exasperated clerk reaches around, rummages, slaps the ruler on the desk. Gideon goes back to the stacks with a ruler. He opens the book, places the ruler not horizontally, but vertically. Insert Plat Book Northwest Valley. Beside the owner column, he places the ruler, looks towards the clerk, then swiftly rips down the page, tearing out a strip about 2 inches wide containing the owner's names and property description. As he tears, he either sniffles or coughs to cover the sound of the paper being ripped. Exterior road, Giddy's driving, day. Amidst the hall of shimmer of dust and heat, parched and drying groves, narrower roads. He passes a ramshackle home next to a rotting orchard. There's a sold sign on the collapsed barn. Giddy stops, checks it against the name he had taken from the Hall of Records. Old stucco buildings further on, and a few other withered pepper trees. Giddy's has paused at this dried up intersection. There is a sold sign on the drugstore. Giddy's looks OS off screen. Coming into view above the arid fields is a spiraling cloud of purple smoke. Giddy's heads in that direction. Giddy's parks at the edge of the field. About 20 yards away is a man mounted on a strange machine, holding a lid off it. Billowing lavender clouds are belching forth. Several children are watching the man at work.
Say, pal, what's he doing?
Making some rain.
Giddy's nods, walks over to the man who is elaborately busying himself with the intricacies of his machine. He is aware of Giddy's watching him.
Well, you're just the man I'm looking for.
The rainmaker now glances at Giddy's, who as usual is immaculately dressed.
Some associates and I are thinking of buying property out here. Of course, we're worried about the rainfall.
The rainmaker steps down.
That's no problem with me on the job.
Yeah. Do you have any references?
City of Loba Horba Heights filled about 800,000 gallons in the reservoir with 16 inches of rainfall in 2 days.
That's swell. But how about here? Ever worked for Robert Knox, Emma Dill, Clarence Spear, Marion Parsons, or Jasper Lamar Crabb?
Never heard of them. New owners?
Yeah.
A lot of turnover these days.
Better tell them to get in touch with me. Oh, that's you.
Better. Oh, that's him.
Rainmaker.
Rainmaker.
It's just written in the wrong way.
Oh, better tell them to get in touch with me if they want to hang on to their land.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Giddy's driving is now covered with a film of dust. He reaches a fork in the road. There are a couple of mailboxes. Giddy's takes this fork, and begins a slow ascent. As he does, the tops of the line of bright green trees can be seen, coming more and more into view. Uh-oh. What happened? I lost it. Sorry, I can't see.
Row upon row of avocado and walnut groves, their foliage heavy. The few structures in the distance are whitewashed and well kept, right down to the whitewashed stones that mark the pathway to the home. Towering above it all, a huge wooden water tank. Giddy's drives through the gate that has a no trespassing and keep out private property signs neatly printed on it. He drives down the road into the grove. Giddy's pulls to a halt in the road flanking the orchard lanes. He puts the car in neutral, stares at the trees. By contrast with what has seen, they are lush and beautiful, their heavy branches barely swaying in the light breeze. Then a shotgun blast abruptly strips bare the branches of the tree he'd been staring at. Exterior avocado
Groves Day. Giddy's is shocked. He looks behind him. Riding on horseback down the field in the direction he has just driven in is a red-faced man in overalls. His hat blows off his head. He does not, however, lose his shotgun he has just used. Giddy's lane of retreat is denied him. He guns the car and takes off down one of the orchard lanes. Moving with Giddy's, the dirt lane is rough. As Giddy's nears the end of it, a younger man on a mule blocks the exit. Giddy's veers a sharp left, knocking the branch off one of the trees, heading down one of the cross lanes. Here, he's pursued by a scraggly dog that nips at the tires. Giddy yells at it. Angle on Grove. Two farmers on foot, one using a crutch, run down the lanes towards the dust trails rising above the trees. They've spotted it. Clearly, it's from Giddy's car. This hide-and-seek chase between one man on horseback, one on a mule, and a couple on foot continues up and down and across the orchard lane until Giddy's front tire and radiator are ruptured by another gunshot blast. Giddy's car veers off, scattering a stray gaggle of geese, and smacks into an avocado tree, shaking loose a barrage of the heavy fruit onto Giddy's and the car. Giddy's immediately tries to get out through the branches over the back of his car. He is pulled off it by one of the younger farmers, a huge brute, who he begins to tussle with. The crippled farmer begins to bang Giddy's on the back with his crutch. The two of them manage to pound Giddy's to the ground within moments, where the crippled farmer continues to whack away at Giddy's with a crutch. The older red-faced farmer with a shotgun and the man on the mule ride up.
All right, quit it now.
Giddy's is hefted off the ground and the two younger farmers spin him around, going through his clothes. Giddy's is badly banged up and half out on his feet. They toss his wallet, the silver cigarette case, etc. on the ground.
I said see if he's armed, not empty his pockets.
He ain't armed.
Giddy's leans against the back of his car, breathing heavily.
All right, mister. Who are you with? Water department or the real estate office?
Giddy's back is to the red-faced farmer. He has trouble catching his breath. The crippled farmer pokes him rudely in the back with his crutch. Giddy's turns sharply.
Get away from me.
Answer him.
Touch me with that thing again, and you'll need a pair of them.
Why don't you pick on someone your own size?
I said cut that out. Give him a chance to say something.
Giddy's looks up at the red-faced farmer.
Name's Giddis. I'm a private investigator, and I'm not with either one.
Then what are you doing out here?
Client hired me to see whether or not the water department's been irrigating your land.
Irrigate my land? Water department's been sending you people to blow up my water tanks. They threw poison down 3 of my wells. I call that a funny way to irrigate. Who'd hire you for a thing like that, huh?
Giddy's reaches into his pocket. The paper's on the ground. He picks it up.
Miss Evelyn Mulray.
Mulray? That son of a bitch did it to us.
Mulray's dead. You don't know what you're talking about, you dumb okie.
The big farmer takes a swig at Giddy's. Giddy's kicks him squarely in the nuts, knees him in the jaw after he's doubled up, and hits him solidly. The crippled farmer takes careful aim and brings his crutch down on the back of Giddy's head. Giddy's is knocked to the ground and lies still beside the big farmer, who is writhing in agony in the dirt.
Well, that's that.
Black screen. There's a purling sound, which soon becomes defined into the sound of voices talking quietly about whether to move or not to move, doctors, etc. Close, Evelyn Mulray is staring down at Giddy's, who is lying in the screen-in porch of the farmers. His wife, the red-faced farmer, and big farmer are there, along with the dog. The red-faced farmer's wife has set tea out. The farmers, all of them, now seem awkward and a little embarrassed. Front porch, red-faced farmer's reaction, Giddy's dusk. He focuses on Evelyn, who sits right next to him. He's got dried blood down the side of his face from his nose, a huge mouse on his cheek, and his clothes are torn in a couple of spots.
What's going on?
You don't look so good. So we thought we better call your employer.
Giddys nods. He checks his watch. He looks out. It's almost evening. Giddy says nothing. The wife of the red-faced farmer, Dubois, looks reproachfully at Dubois. Giddys feels the back of his head. It obviously hurts him. Exterior Dubois farmhouse, evening. Evelyn and Giddys go out to her car, the cream-colored Packard. Dubois accompanies them, along with a big farmer who's carrying a crate of something. Giddys has cleaned himself up a little.
Look here. If it's all the same to you, we just want to get your car patched up. If you all tell me what your good trousers you run, I'll make good on them, Miss Giddys.
It's okay, Mr. Dubois.
It's just that, they're after everybody out here, tearing up the irrigation ditches, trying to make our land worthless so they can pick it up for 20 cents on the dollar per acre.
Giddys nods.
Anyways, Earl here, he's sorry too.
He wants to get. Oh, that's you. It's written poorly.
Oh, he wants to give you something. Take care of you. Take you back. Take back with you. Giddy's looks. Earl has a huge crate where he's holding a brim full of avocados.
Thanks, Earl.
Interior car, Evelyn and Giddy's dusk. Evelyn driving.
Thanks for coming.
Giddy's pulls out cigarette case, takes one, offers one to Evelyn, who refuses.
That dam is a con job.
What dam?
The one your husband opposed. They're conning LA into building it. Only the water won't go to LA. It'll go here.
The valley?
Everything you can see, everything around us. I was at the Hall of Records today. That bother you?
No.
In the last 3 months, Robert Knox has bought 7,000 acres. Emma Dill, 12,000 acres. Clarence Spear, 5,000 acres. And Jasper Lamar Crabb, 25,000 acres.
Jasper Lamar Crab.
Know him?
No, I think I'd remember.
Yeah, they've been blowing these farmers out of here and buying their land for peanuts. Have any idea what this land will be worth with a steady water supply? About 30 million more than they paid.
And Hollis knew about this?
It's why he was killed. Jasper Lamar Crabb. Jasper Lamar Crabb.
He's pulling out his wallet, excitedly now, spilling its contents onto the seat. He pulls out the obituary column he'd folded up earlier in the day.
We got it. We got it, baby.
What? What is it?
There was a memorial service at the Mar Vista Inn today for Jasper Lamar Crabb. He died 3 weeks ago.
Is that unusual?
2 weeks ago, he bought those 25,000 acres. That's unusual.
Exterior Mar Vista Inn and Rest Home, night. Evelyn's car pulls up before the elegant Spanish rest home, its entryway illuminated by streetlights. There is a small sign giving the name of the place in elegant neon scroll. It sits on the green lawn, the rolling green lawns. Giddys gets out of the car with Evelyn. He offers her his arm and they go up the walkway to the entrance. Interior, Mar Vista Inn and Rest Home, night. Giddys and Evelyn are approached by the unctuous man in his 40s with a flower in his buttonhole. He sees Evelyn first.
Hello there. I'm Mr. Palmer. Can I help you folks? I should.
Is it? Did Palmer talk?
Yes.
Yeah, Angel.
Oh, sorry. Then he gets a clear look at Giddys, bruised, trousers torn, etc.
Yes, I sure hope so. It's Dad. I just can't handle him anymore. Can I, sweetheart?
Evelyn shakes her head.
Oh, my goodness.
Nothing to do with Dad. It's me, actually.
They just don't get along very well. Dad's a lamb with anyone else.
Oh, I don't know.
Naturally, I want the best for him. Money is no object.
Well, perhaps we can meet your father.
There's just one question.
Of course.
Do you accept anyone of the Jewish persuasion?
Evelyn can't quite conceal her surprise at the question.
I'm sorry, we don't.
Don't be sorry. Neither does my dad. Wanted to make sure, though, didn't we, honey?
Evelyn stares back at Giddys, amused and appalled. She manages a nod.
Just to be certain, I wonder if you could show us a list of your patients.
We don't reveal the names of our guests. It's a matter of policy. I know you'd appreciate that if your father came to live with us.
Giddys locks eyes with Palmer.
That's exactly what we wanted to hear.
Ah, good.
I wonder, is it too late for us to have a look around?
I don't think so. Be happy to show you.
Would you mind if we took a stroll on our own?
Just, if you will, confine yourself to the main building. It's nearly bedtime.
Oh, we understand. Come on, sweetheart.
He takes Evelyn, interior parlor Evelyn, looking, either by accident or design, the primarily octogenarian guests have segregated themselves. In one wing, the men are playing pinochle. Some are playing dominoes. The elderly gentleman sits by himself, carefully peeling an orange. In an adjacent parlor, several white-headed ladies work on a quilt. Giddys grabs Evelyn's hand.
They're all here. Every goddamn name.
Giddys points to the wall. It says activities board. There are titles: lawn bowling, bridge, fishing, croquet. Below them are the names of the guests, entered under certain activities for certain days. After Evelyn looks, she turns to Giddys.
You're looking at the owners of a 50,000-acre empire.
That can't be.
They may not know it, but they are.
Giddys strolls towards the women knitting, working on the quilt.
Hello, girls.
Two of the ladies giggle. A third continues to busy herself with the quilt, off by herself.
Which one of you is Emma Dill?
Two of them say she is and point in different directions. The third gives him a curt look and goes back to her knitting. Giddys approaches her.
Are you Emma?
Some old voices sing softly. Don't sit under the apple tree.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I've been wanting to meet you.
Why?
Did you know that you're a very wealthy woman?
I'm not.
Well, you own a lot of land.
Not anymore. Oh, some time ago, my late husband owned a good deal of beach property in Long Beach, but we lost it.
Giddys looks at the quilt. It is in the head of a fish among the rest of the crazy quilt patterns. Giddys spots it.
That's just lovely.
Oh, thank you.
He looks through the quilt for other pieces of the fish, comes across the tail, and by it the initials AC.
Where did you get this material?
Oh, the Apple Core Club.
The apple core?
No, the albacore. It's a fish. My grandson's a member, and they take very nice care of us.
How do they do that?
Oh, give us things, not just some old flag like this, but
But what?
well,
It is sort of an unofficial charity of theirs, Mr. Giddys. Would you care to come this way? Someone wants to see you.
Giddys looks up, sees Palmer standing in the doorway, looks taut and a little drawn. Evelyn is beside him. She gestures as if there's someone behind Palmer. Giddys rises.
See you later, Emma.
He walks toward Palmer, who waits for him to walk in front. At the entrance hall, Mulvihill is waiting. He's got his hand in his pockets. Evelyn looks to Giddys. The four of them stand there, Mulvihill towering over everyone.
Come on, I want you to meet someone, Giddys.
Can we leave the lady out of this?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I'd like to walk her to her car.
I'll stay.
Get in the car.
I'll see she makes it.
Angel. Mulvihill. has, maybe she's frozen. Mulvihill has walked up beside Giddy. He makes the mistake of opening the glass door in the entryway, putting his back to Giddy's for a moment. Giddy swiftly pulls Mulvihill's jacket over his head, spins him around with his jacket covering his face. Giddy hammers away at Mulvihill, beating him against the glass door along the wall mercilessly, pounding his fist into the cloth until the cloth turns red and Mulvihill begins to sink to the red tile floor. Palmer screams. Evelyn stands there, astonished. Mulvihill's gun has clattered to the floor.
What are you waiting for? Get in the car.
Evelyn goes. Mulvihill tries to get up again. Palmer starts to go for the gun, nearly picking it up. Giddy slaps it out of his hands and kicks it. It goes flying down the hall, at least 30 feet. Hits the wall. Palmer goes screaming off into the night. Giddy turns back. Mulvihill, who starts to get up, then collapses. Giddy goes to the front door, ignoring the excited audience of ancients behind him. Outside, as Gideon walks down the pathway, he stops. 2 men are coming toward him. One of them is shorter and has the nervous, jerky moves of the man who slit his nose. Giddy stops. The 2 men fan out and continue to move toward him. Giddy spots the 2 Towne shoes. He begins to back up. Suddenly, there is a pair of headlights flashing brilliantly behind the 2 men. In a moment, Evelyn's car is headed across the lawn, directly toward the 2 men, accelerating as it gets near them. They look in disbelief, then dive for safety. The car skids to a stop, fishtailing a little on the grass. Evelyn opens the passenger door. Get in.
Get in.
Giddy jumps in and she takes off across the lawn, tilting the elegant little neon sign of the lawn as she goes. 2 shots are fired. Interior car, Evelyn and Giddy's. Evelyn looks straight ahead, driving. After a moment, she takes one hand off the wheel and rubs her left eye a little. Giddy watches her. He smiles. Exterior veranda, Mulray home, night. Giddy stands on the veranda smoking a cigarette, staring off into the night. Evelyn comes to the veranda carrying a tray with whiskey and ice bucket on it. She sets it down. Giddy turns.
Needs night off?
Why?
What do you mean, why? Nobody's here, that's all.
I gave everybody the night off.
Easy, it's a innocent question.
No question from you is innocent, Mr. Giddies.
I guess not. To you, Miss Mulray. Frankly, you really saved my neck tonight.
They drink.
Tell me something. Does this usually happen to you, Mr. Geddes?
What's that, Miss Mulray?
Well, I'm only judging on the basis of one afternoon and an evening, but if that's how you go about your work, I'd say you're lucky to get through a whole day.
Actually, this hasn't happened to me in some time.
When was the last time?
Why?
I don't know why. I'm asking.
Giddy touches his nose and winces a little bit.
It was in Chinatown,
What were you doing there?
working for the district attorney.
Doing what?
Giddy looks sharply at her, then
As little as possible.
The district attorney gives his men advice like that?
They do in Chinatown.
she looks at him. Giddy stares off into the night. Evelyn has poured herself another drink.
Bothers you to talk about it, doesn't it?
Giddy gets up.
No, I wonder. Do you have any peroxide or something?
He touches his nose lightly.
Oh, sure. Come on.
She takes his hand and leads him back into the house. Interior bathroom mirror. Giddy pulls the plaster off his nose, stares at it in the mirror. Evelyn takes some hydrogen peroxide and some cotton out of the medicine cabinet. Evelyn turns Giddy's head toward her. She has him sit on the Pullman tile adjacent to the sink.
Doctor did a nice job.
She begins to work on his nose with the peroxide. Then she sees his cheek, checks back in his hair.
Boy, oh boy, you're a mess.
Yeah.
So, why does it bother you to talk about it? Chinatown.
Bothers everybody who works there. But to me, it was
Hold still.
Giddy's.
Why?
you can't always tell what's going on there.
No. Why was it?
I thought I was keeping someone from being hurt, and actually I ended up making sure they were hurt.
Could you do anything about it?
They're very close now, as she's going over a mouse near his eye.
Yeah. Make sure I don't find myself in Chinatown anymore. Wait a second.
He takes hold of her and pulls her even closer.
What's wrong?
Your eye.
What about it?
There's something black in the green part of your eye.
Oh, that. It's a flaw in the iris.
A flaw.
Yes, sort of a birthmark.
Giddies kisses her lightly, gradually rises until he's standing holding her. She hesitates, then wraps her arms around him. Interior Mulray bedroom telephone. On a nightstand, city lights visible through the open window behind it. Oh, telephone is ringing. Evelyn's arm reaches into the shot. Sound of something hitting the headboard. Giddy's moans. Views shift to include Giddy's in bed, holding his head, which he just hit. Evelyn pauses her reach to the phone. She turns to him, whispers, "I'm sorry." Kisses him on the head and lips. Phone continues to ring. She picks it up.
Hello? No. I'll come and help. Just keep watching her and don't do anything until I get there. Bye.
View shifts again to include Giddy's in bed, watching Evelyn next to him as she's talking on the phone. She hangs up. She touches Giddy's cheek lightly.
I have to go.
Giddy stares at her silently.
Where?
I have to.
And I want to know where.
But please don't be angry. Believe me, it's got nothing to do with you.
Where are you going?
Please, trust me this much. I'll be back. Look, there is something I should tell you. The fishing club that old lady mentioned, the pieces off the flag,
The Albacore Club.
it has to do with my father.
I know.
He owns it. You know?
I saw him.
You saw my father? When?
This morning.
He didn't tell me.
There hasn't been a lot of time.
She leaps out of bed, throwing on a robe.
What did he say? What did he say?
That you were jealous and he was worried about what you might do.
Do? To who?
Mulray's girlfriend, for one thing. He wanted to know where she was.
Evelyn starts quickly for the bathroom, then comes back and kneels by the side of the bed, takes Giddy's hand.
I want you to listen to me. My father is a very dangerous man. You don't know how dangerous. You don't know how crazy.
Give me an example.
You may think you know what's going on, but you don't.
That's what your father said. You're telling me he's in back of this whole thing?
It's possible.
Including the death of your husband?
It's possible. Please, don't ask me any more questions now. Just wait. Wait for me. I'll be back. I need you here.
She kisses him, rushes to the bathroom, shuts the door. Giddy stares at it a moment, then leaps out of bed, rummages around, tosses on his trousers, grabs his shoes, throws them on, then hurries out of the bedroom. Exterior Mulray home, Giddy's, running across the driveway to the garage. There are two cars there, Mulray's Buick and Evelyn's Packard. Giddy's moves over to the Buick, opens the passenger's door. Interior Buick, Giddy's, checks the ignition. No keys in it. He pulls a couple of wires from under the dashboard, starts to mess with them, seems satisfied, slides out across the seat, slams the door. Exterior Mulray driveway, night. Giddys hurries over to the Packard. He gets down on the driveway, lying on his back, bracing himself. With the heel of his shoe, he kicks at the right rear tailgate of the car. He shatters the red lens, gets up. He carefully pulls the red lens off the tailgate, exposing the white light beneath it. He tosses the red lens to the shrubbery and hurries back toward the house. One red and one white taillight, moving night. Evelyn's car speeds along the curves on Sunset Boulevard. The red and white lights coming in and out of view. Giddy's driving night. From behind the wheel of Mulray's car, keeping a healthy distance from Evelyn in front of him. Evelyn's Packard pulls up before a small little bungalow house. She gets out, looks up and down the street. There's nothing. She hurries up the walkway to the front door. Down the street, Giddy's and Buick. Idles the engine with the lights off. He brings the car to a few yards further down the street, parking it near Evelyn's. Giddy's gets out of the car and goes up the walkway. The curtains are drawn except for one of the small windows on the side of the house. He goes to it and looks, balancing on the edge of the porch. Through the window, Giddy sees Evelyn's Oriental servant rush through the living room of the small house. In a moment, he reemerges back through the living room, carrying a tray with a glass and pitcher on it. Giddy's around to the side of the house. He runs into shrubbery and a short picket fence. He climbs over it, follows along the stucco wall to a series of windows at the corner of the house. These all have shades on them. He can hear someone crying in the house. Someone else talking alternately, firmly and plaintively in Spanish. Here the windows have blinds. He moves to one where the blind is not completely drawn. There is an inch or so of space at the bottom. Through the window, Giddy's can see the servant again. Evelyn is pacing back and forth, in and out of shot in his line of vision. After a moment, someone rises into shot, obviously from lying on a bed. The figure is just a few feet from Evelyn. Her tear-stained face comes into view. It is unmistakably the girl Giddy's had last seen with Hollis Mulray, Mulray's girlfriend. She's looking up to Evelyn, speaking in Spanish. Her words are not discernible, but the tone is bitter, anguish. A newspaper is strewn about the room. Evelyn kneels. She insists that the girl swallow down some pills. The girl reluctantly does. Giddy's continues to watch. Exterior street, Evelyn, night. Emerges from the house. Goes to her car and gets in. Interior car. Evelyn sees Giddy's sitting in her car, staring coldly at her.
Okay, give me the keys.
Evelyn?
You bastard.
It's either that or you drive to the police yourself.
The police?
Come on, Miss Mulray. You've got your husband's girlfriend tied up in there.
She's not tied up.
You know what I mean. You're keeping her there against her will.
I am not.
Then let's go talk to her.
Giddy starts to get out of the car. Evelyn grabs his arm, nearly screaming.
No.
Her intensity actually rips Giddy's already partially torn jacket. He looks at it and her. It seems to have a momentary calming effect on both of them.
She's too upset.
What about?
Hollis's death. I tried to keep it from her. I didn't want her upset before I could make plans for her to leave.
You mean she just found out?
Yes.
That's not what it looks like, Miss Mulray.
What does it look like?
Like she knows about Hollis's death, like she knows more than you want her to tell.
Oh, you're insane.
Giddy's explodes.
Just tell me the truth. I'm not the police. I don't care what you've done. I'm not going to hurt you, but one way or another, I'm going to know.
You won't go to the police if I tell you?
I will if you don't.
A long pause. Evelyn's head sinks into the steering wheel, her hair covering her face.
She's my sister.
Evelyn is breathing very deeply now, not crying, but the kind of breathing that comes from real hysteria. Giddy's puts an arm on her shoulder.
Take it easy. If it's your sister, it's your sister. Why all the secrecy?
She lifts her head and looks up at him. He's genuinely puzzled.
I can't.
Because of Hollis? because she was seeing your husband? Was that it? Jesus Christ, say something. Was that it?
She nods. Giddy sighs.
I would never, ever have harmed Hollis. I loved him more than my own family. He was the most gentle, decent man imaginable. And he put up with more for me than you'll ever know. I just wanted him to be happy.
She begins to cry softly.
I took your husband's Buick. I'll return it tomorrow.
Aren't you coming back with me?
Don't worry, I'm not telling anybody about this.
That's not what I meant.
There's a long moment of silence. Gideon looks over to Evelyn. Her hair covers most of her face from him.
Yeah, well, I'm very tired, Miss Mulray. Good night.
He gets out and slams the car door. She drives off. The interior shower, Giddy's apartment. Giddy's. The spray is hitting him full on the top of his head. Giddy's is so exhausted. He's literally holding onto the nozzle as the water pours down. He shuts the water off, reaches weakly for a towel, dabs his nose lightly with it. Interior, Giddy's room, Giddy's. Giddy's pads around in elegant silk pajamas. He walks over to the window where morning light is streaming in. He closes the curtains, collapses on the bed, on top of the covers, inert. Almost immediately, the phone rings. Giddy's lets it go on for a moment, then picks it up without saying anything.
Giddies? Giddies?
Yeah.
Ida Sessions wants to see you.
Who?
Ida Sessions. You remember Ida?
Giddy slowly rises to one elbow.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, sure you do.
Well, tell you what, pal. If Ida wants to see me, she can call me at my office.
He hangs up, falls back down. Phone rings again and again. Giddy swears, picks it up.
684 and a half East Kensington, Echo Park. She begged me to call. She's waiting for you.
Before Giddy can say anything, the phone clicks dead. Exterior, Cerritos Tower Road, Hollywood Hills, early morning. Giddy pulls up. It is a bungalow courtyard with a very narrow walkway and a sickly green stucco. Exterior, Ida Sessions' apartment. Day. Giddy's at the front door. It's slightly ajar. He knocks, nothing. He opens it and enters. Interior, living room. Morning light filters through the half-open blinds. Dust particles in the shafts of light. It's still and empty. Giddy sees something down the hall. Under the legs of a telephone table, Giddy moves towards it. It is grotesque. When he gets closer, he can see it's a wilted head of lettuce. Just inside the kitchen, some radishes and onion lie in the linoleum. Giddy walks on into the kitchen. Interior kitchen. Clearing the kitchen counter, Giddy sees Ida Sessions lying on her back on the floor, surrounded by the groceries from a broken bag. Ice cream has melted around her. Her eyes are open. A stream of ants is moving across the ice cream and into her mouth. She's recognizable as the woman who posed as Evelyn Mulray. Giddy kneels over her. He gingerly opens her handbag, fishes for its contents, takes them and looks at them on the kitchen counter. A wallet with a few bills in it, driver's license with her name. A Screen Actors Guild card. Giddy nods, turns, carefully replaces the items in her purse. He idly opens the broom closet, pantry, and even Frigidaire, which is all but empty. Then he steps over the body and moves across the hall to a door that is slightly ajar. Interior bathroom. Giddy enters and turns on the light.
You find anything interesting, Giddies?
Escobar and another plainclothes man in the bathroom, stand in the bathroom by the entrance to the bedroom door. Giddy turns around. A third man is now coming down the hall from the bedroom. Giddy looks at the two, doesn't reply.
What are you doing here?
Didn't you call?
How do you know her?
I don't.
Let me show you something.
Interior kitchen. Escobar points to the number MU 7279 on the side of one of the kitchen cabinets.
Isn't that your number?
Is it? I forget. I don't call myself that often.
Just to be safe, I had Loach here give you a ring.
He indicates one of his assistants.
What happened to your nose, Giddy? Someone slam you in the bedroom? Bedroom window on it?
Nope. Your wife got excited, crossed her legs a little too quick. You understand, pal?
The assistant starts to move for Giddies, who is ready for him. Escobar steps between the two.
Loach. How about these? Look familiar?
In the open drawer are the photos of Mulray and the girl in the park boat, and at the El Macando on the veranda.
Yeah, I took them. So what?
How does she happen to have them?
Giddies takes a deep breath.
Either you tell me or I guess, because I don't have the answer.
Escobar nods.
You really think I'm stupid, don't you, Giddies?
I don't think about it one way or the other. But if you want, give me a day or two and I'll get back to you. Now, I'd like to go home.
I want the rest of the pictures.
What pictures?
This broad hired you, Giddies, not Evelyn Mulray.
Yeah?
Yeah, somebody wanted to shake down Mulray. She hired you, and that's how you happen to know Mulray was murdered.
I heard it was an accident.
Come on. You think you're dealing with a bunch of assholes. Mulroy had salt water in his goddamn lungs. Now, how did that get there in a freshwater reservoir?
Giddies is surprised at this piece of information, but remains nonplussed.
You were following him that night and day. You saw who killed him. You even took pictures of it, and it was Evelyn Mulray. She's been paying you off like a slot machine ever since her husband died.
You accusing me of extortion?
Absolutely.
I don't think I need a day or two. You're even dumber than you think I think you are. Not only that, I'd never extort a nickel out of my worst enemy. That's where I draw the line, Escobar.
Yeah, I once knew a whore who for enough money would piss on a customer's face, but she never shit on his chest. That's where she drew the line.
Well, I hope she wasn't too much of a disappointment to you, Lou.
Escobar manages a thin smile.
I want those photograph Giddies. We're talking about accessory after the fact. Conspiracy, extortion, minimum.
Why do you think Mulray's body was moved, you dimwit? Evelyn Mulray knocked off her husband in the ocean and thought it would look like more of an accident if she hauled him up to the Oak Pass Reservoir?
This is a little telling.
Mulray was murdered and moved because somebody didn't want his body found in the ocean.
And why is that?
He found out somebody was dumping water there. That's what they were trying to cover up by moving him.
This stops Escobar. He's dumbfounded by it.
What are you talking about?
Come on, I'll show you.
Escobar hesitates.
Come on, make a decision, Lou. You're in charge.
The men around Escobar look at him. Escobar grudgingly nods. Close shot. Storm drain. It yawns at camera. Only a trickle of water dropping into the ocean. Wide view widens to include Escobar, Giddies, and two plainclothes men standing and staring into the empty pipes as if they expected to talk.
It's too late.
Too late for what?
They only dump the water at night.
The third assistant runs down the side of the cliff and over to Escobar.
Reach anybody?
Bishop. Yeah, he's the new chief.
I know who he is. Well,
He says,
I know what he says.
shut up. Go on.
Yelverton says that they're irrigating in the valley, and there's always a little runoff when they do that. And he says it's Gideon that knows that. He's been going around making irresponsible accusations for the last week.
Escobar turns to Giddies, stares at him for a long moment.
Let's swear a warrant out for the arrest. What are we waiting for?
Because he just made lieutenant and he wants to hang on to his little gold bar.
Escobar stares hatefully at Giddys.
Have your client in my office in 2 hours. And remember, I don't have to let you go. I've got you for withholding evidence right now.
Exterior Mulray's home day. Giddys in Mulray's Buick whips into the driveway. He looks to the garage. Evelyn's car is gone. Only the gardener's truck is there. Giddys hurries along the pathway and up to the house. He rings the doorbell, scarcely waiting for an answer. He tries it. It's locked. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out his cigarette case, takes a pick out of the side, and starts to fool with the lock. The maid opens the door abruptly, stares in some surprise at Giddys.
Where's Miss Mulray?
No está.
Giddys looks past the maid to the center of the living room, where luggage is packed and neatly piled. The maid is actually in the process of throwing covers over the furniture.
Is Miss Mulray going someplace? On a trip? Vacation?
No está en casa.
Giddys nods. He continues through the house and out back to the veranda. Exterior Mulray veranda. Giddys is unsettled. Sees the gardener working by the pond. He wanders a few yards in that direction. Gardener spots Giddys, half bows, nods and smiles. Giddys in turn nods and smiles.
Bad for what?
Bad for glass.
Gardener breaks into a big grin, nods again.
Oh yes, bad for glass. Salt water very bad for glass.
Giddys can't quite believe what he's heard.
Salt water?
The gardener nods vigorously, pointing to the pond.
Very, very bad.
Giddys has moved to the pond. He kneels, clings to the edge of it. He can now see, as he could have before if he'd looked closely, a starfish, close starfish. It has one leg missing. The fifth point in the star is just beginning to grow back. Giddys touches the water, tastes it. He licks his lips, then spots something glinting at the bottom of the pond.
What's that? Down there.
The gardener peers into the pond.
There.
The gardener spots it. He rolls up his trousers, gets in the pond, and reaches into the bottom, his chin actually touching the water. He misses the object, which seems to scoot away like an animal. When he grasps it. He lifts it out of the water and holds a pair of eyeglasses, rimless, bent, his finger poking through the frame where one lens is shattered. The gardener seems surprised. Giddys looks at the glasses. They are heavily bifocal and reflect the sun. Interior, Mulray home. Giddys holds the phone to his ear. On the telephone table, lying on his handkerchief, are the glasses. The maid hovers around Giddys' shoulder, uneasily watching him.
Hello?
Have you got your checkbook handy, Mr. Cross? I've got the girl.
You got it. Well,
Do you remember the figures we discussed?
of course I do. Where are you?
At your daughter's house. How soon can you get here?
2 hours. Tell me, will Evelyn be there as well?
Either that or she'll be in jail.
What are you talking about?
Just bring your checkbook.
Giddys hangs up. Exterior bungalow house, Adelaide Drive. Giddys pulls up in Mulray's Buick. He hurries to the front door, pounds on it. A Chinese servant answers the door.
You wait.
You wait.
Giddys pushes past him. Evelyn looks a little worn, but glad to see him, hurries to the door. She takes Giddys' arm.
How are you? I was calling you.
She looks at him, searching his face.
Yeah.
They move into the living room. Giddys is looking around.
Did you get some sleep?
Sure.
Did you have lunch? Keo will fix you something.
Where's the girl?
Upstairs. Why?
I want to see her.
She's having a bath now. Why do you want to see her?
Giddys continues to look around. He sees clothes laid out for packing in the bedroom off the living room.
Going somewhere?
Yes, we've got a 4:30 train to catch. Why?
Giddys doesn't answer. He goes to the phone and dials.
JJ Gittis for Lieutenant Escobar.
What are you doing? What's wrong? I told you we've got a 4:30.
You're going to miss your train. Lou, meet me at 1412 Adelaide. It's above Santa Monica Canyon. Yeah, soon as you can.
What did you do that for?
You know any good criminal lawyers?
No.
Don't worry, I can recommend a couple. They're expensive, but you can afford it.
What the hell is this all about?
Gidees looks at her, then takes the handkerchief out of his breast pocket, unfolds it on the coffee table, revealing a bifocal glasses, one lens still intact. Evelyn stares dumbly at them.
I found these in your backyard and your fish pond. They belonged to your husband, didn't they? Didn't they?
I don't know. I mean, yes, probably.
Yes, positively. That's where he was drowned.
What are you saying?
There's no time for you to be shocked by the truth, Miss Mulray. The coroner's report proves he was killed in salt water. Just take my word for it. Now, I want to know how it happened and why. I want to know before Escobar gets here because I want to hang it on to my license.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is the most insane. This is the craziest thing I ever.
Gidees has been in a state of near frenzy himself, gets up, shakes her.
Stop it. I'll make it easy. You were jealous. You fought. He fell, hit his head. It was an accident. But his girl is a witness. You had to pay her off. You don't have the stomach to harm her, but you've got the money to shut her up. Yes or no?
No.
Who is she? And don't give me that crap about it being your sister. You don't have a sister.
Evelyn is trembling.
I'll tell you the truth.
Gidees smiles.
That's good. Now, what's her name?
Catherine.
Catherine. Catherine who?
She's my daughter.
Gidees stares at her. He's been charged with anger, and when Evelyn says this, it explodes. He hits her full in the face. Evelyn stares back at him. The blow is forced tears from her eyes, but she makes no move, not even to defend herself.
I said the truth.
She's my sister.
Gidees slaps her again.
It's my daughter.
Gidees slaps her again.
My sister.
He hits her again.
My daughter. My sister.
He belts her finally, knocking her into the cheap Chinese vase, which shatters, and he collapses on the sofa, sobbing.
I said I want the truth.
She's my sister and my daughter.
Kyo comes running down the stairs.
No, for God's sakes, Kyo, keep her upstairs. Go back.
Kyo turns after staring at Gidees for a moment, then goes back upstairs.
My father and I understand, or is it too tough for you?
Gidees doesn't answer.
He had a breakdown. Dam broke. My mother died. He became a little boy. I was 15. He'd ask me what to eat for breakfast, what clothes to wear. It happened. And then I ran away.
To Mexico.
She nods.
Hollis came and took care of me. After she was born, he said, he took care of her, and I couldn't see her. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I just want to see her once in a while, take care of her. That's all. But I don't want her to know. I don't want her to know.
So that's why you hate it.
Evelyn looks slowly up at Gidees.
No. For turning this back on me after it happened. He couldn't face it. I hate him.
Gidees suddenly feels the need to loosen his tie.
Yeah. Where are you taking her now?
Back to Mexico.
You can't go by train. Escobar will be looking for you everywhere.
How about a plane?
That's worse. Just get out of here. Walk out. Leave everything.
I have to go home and get my things.
I'll take care of it.
Where can we go?
Where does Cayo live?
With us.
On his day off, get the exact address.
Okay.
She stops suddenly.
Those didn't belong to Hollis.
For a moment, Gidees doesn't know what she's talking about. Then he follows her gaze to the glasses lying on his handkerchief.
How do you know?
He didn't wear bifocals.
Giddies picks up the glasses, stares at the lens, is momentarily lost in them. Evelyn from the stairs. She has her arm around Catherine.
Say hello to Mr. Geddes, sweetheart.
Hello.
Giddies rises, a little shakily from the arm of the sofa.
Hello.
With the arm around the girl, talking in Spanish, Evelyn hurries her toward the bedroom. In a moment, she reemerges.
He lives at 1712 Alameda. Do you know where that is?
Reaction, Giddies. He nods slowly.
Sure, it's Chinatown.
Through window of bungalow, Giddies watches Evelyn. The girl and Keo head for Keo's black dusty sedan. Giddies drops the curtain, heads swiftly to the phone. He dials.
Sophie, is Walsh there? Yeah, listen, pal. Escobar is going to try and book me in about 5 minutes. Relax, I'll tell you. Wait in the office for 2 hours. If you don't hear from me, you and Duffy meet me at 1712 Alameda.
Jesus, that's in Chinatown, ain't it?
The front doorbell.
I know where it is. Just do it.
Giddies hangs up and goes to the door. He opens it. No one is there.
Come on in, Lou. We're both too late.
Escobar and his minions appear from either side of the door.
Looks like she flew the coop.
Escobar nods.
I don't suppose you got any idea where she went.
Matter of fact, I do.
Where?
Her maid's house. I think she knows something's up.
What's the maid's address?
She lives in Pedro. I'll write it down for you.
No Giddies. You'll show us.
What for?
If she's not there, you're going downtown. And you're staying there until she shows up.
Gee, Lou, I'm doing the best I can.
Just tell us on the way to Pedro.
Exterior San Pedro, 29th Street, day. A steep hill overlooks part of the harbor. Escobar's unmarked car pulls up to a stop in front of the Spanish duplex, perched on the steep hillside.
That's it?
Yeah.
Well, let's go.
Do me a favor, will you, Lou?
Escobar waits.
Let me bring her down myself. She's not armed or nothing. She won't be any problem. I just like a minute alone with her. It would mean something to her and to me.
Escobar shakes his head. For a moment, it looks like he means no.
You never learn, do you, Giddies?
I guess not.
I'll give you 3 minutes.
Gee, thanks, Lou.
Giddies gets out of the car, glances around, goes up the stairs. He looks back down at Escobar. Giddies rings a bell. He waits. He opens. It's a woman who's not recognizable. She's got the remnants of a black eye.
Yes.
Giddies looks past her to Curly, the fisherman from the first scene. He's seated at the dinner table with his father, his mother, and his children. Curly looks up in surprise.
Oh, Mr. Giddies, come in.
Giddies enters and closes the door. Curly rises and comes over to him, greets him happily.
Gee, this is a surprise. Mr. Giddies.
Call me Jake. How is everything?
Oh, just sitting down for supper, Jake. Come on, here, join us.
No, thanks.
Oh, how about a glass of wine? Honey, this is...
Yes, I know.
Thanks just the same, Curly. I could use a glass of water, though. Come out with me to the kitchen for a second.
Sure thing.
Interior kitchen, Giddies and Curly.
Curly, where's your car?
It's in the garage.
And where's that?
Off in the alley.
Could you drive me somewhere?
Sure. As soon as we eat.
Right now, Curly. It can't wait.
Yeah, I'll just tell my wife.
Tell her later.
They head back out the back door and down the steps toward the garage. Exterior garage and alley and garage. Curly pulls open the garage door, gets in and starts the car, backs it out. It's an old, late 20s Plymouth sedan. Giddies hops in. They take off. At the edge of the alley, Giddies looks back. From Curly's car, Escobar is getting out of his car, moving toward the duplex. Giddies slips down in the seat.
Just drive slow for a block or two, will you, Curly?
Hey, what's all this about?
Tell you in a couple blocks.
Interior sedan, Giddies and Curly.
How much do you owe me, Curly?
Oh, gee, Mr. Giddies, we're going out tomorrow. I know you're real good about it, but my cousin Angie's sick.
Forget it. How would you like to pay me off by taking a couple of passengers to Ensadina? You'd have to leave tonight.
Oh, I don't know.
I might be able to squeeze an extra $75 out of it for you. Maybe even 100.
Plus what I owe you?
I'll throw that in too.
Okay, you got yourself a boat.
Exterior Mulray's home, Giddies and Curly. Carry bags out to Curly's car. Curly opens the door for the maid. She gets in. He turns to Giddies.
Tell Miss Mulray to wait for half an hour after you get there. Then, if I don't show, take her down to the boat.
You sure this is okay?
Curly, you know how long I've been in business?
Curly nods, reassured. He gets in and takes off. Exterior Mulray's home, dusk, by the pond. Cigarette smoke drifts into shot. A car pulls up. In a moment, Cross can be seen, looking toward camera.
There you are.
He walks towards Giddies, who stands by the pond smoking.
Well, you don't look any the worse for wear, Mr. Giddies. I must say, where's the girl?
I've got her.
Is she all right?
She's fine
Where is she?
with her mother.
Cross's tone alters here.
With her mother?
Giddies pulls something out of his pocket and unfolds it.
I'd like you to look at something, Mr. Cross.
What is it?
An obituary column. Can you read in this light?
Yeah, I think I can manage. Let's see here.
Cross dips into his coat pocket and pulls out a pair of rimless glasses. He puts them on, reads. Giddies stares at the bifocal lenses as Cross continues to look through the obituary column. He looks up.
What does this mean?
That you killed Hollis Mulray.
Giddies is holding the bifocals with a broken lens now.
Right here in this pond. You drowned him and you left these.
Cross looks at the glasses.
The coroner's report showed Mulray had salt water in his lungs.
Holly was always fond of tide pools. You know what he used to say about them?
Haven't the faintest idea.
That's where life begins. Marshes, sloughs, tide pools. He was fascinated by them. You know, when we first came out here, he figured that if you dumped water into the desert sand, it would percolate down into the bedrock and stay there, instead of evaporating the way it does in most reservoirs. You'd lose only 20% instead of 70 or 80. He made this city.
And that's what you're going to do in the valley.
Exterior pond, Cross and Giddies.
No, Mr. Giddies, that's what I am doing with the valley. The bond issue passes Tuesday. There'll be 10 million to build an aqueduct and a reservoir. I'm doing it.
There's going to be some irate citizens when they find out you're paying for water they're not getting.
It's all taken care of, you see, Mr. Giddies. Either you bring the water to LA or you bring LA to the water.
How do you do that?
So incorporate the valley into the city, so the water goes to LA after all. Very simple.
Giddies nods.
How much are you worth?
I have no idea. How much you want?
I want to know what you're worth. Over 10 million?
Oh my, yes.
Then why are you doing it? How much better can you eat? What can you buy that you can't afford already?
The future, Mr. Giddies, the future. Where's the girl? I want only the daughter. I want the only daughter I have left. As you found out, Evelyn was lost to me a long time ago.
Who do you blame for that? Her?
Cross makes a funny little cock of his head.
I don't blame myself. You see, Mr. Giddies, most people never have to face the fact that at the right time and right place, they're capable of anything. Take those glasses from him, will you, Claude?
Mulville extends his the glass. Giddy
It's not worth it, Mr. Geddes. It's really not worth it.
Giddy's hands over the glasses.
over.
Tickets to the girl. Either Evelyn allows me to see her, or I'm not averse to seeing Evelyn in jail. But if I have to buy the jail, Hollis and Evelyn kept her from me for 15 years. It's been too long. I'm too old.
And exterior Chinatown street. Night. The streets are crowded. Here and there, one can see Chinese in traditional dress. Giddy's driving slowly, spots Catherine and Raman, and luggage, nearly lost in the crowds. They are walking towards a car parked near a laundry truck. Giddy sees them, keeps driving.
Stop the car! Stop the car!
Mulville tries to clobber Giddy's. Giddy's elbows him. The car jumps the curb and hits the lamppost. Exterior street cross, leaps out of the car shouting.
Catherine! Catherine, wait!
Giddy's is after him, grabbing him. Cross tries to swing at Giddy's with his cane. Mulvihill comes up behind Giddy's and the three of them begin an awkward wrestling match. The crowd scattering. Mulvihill pulling his revolver, trying to hit Giddy's with the side of his head. The three men crash to the pavement. Curly starts out of the car towards Giddy's. Giddy sees him.
No, Curly, get him out of here. Get him out of here.
He bites Mulvihill's hand and furiously pounds it into a sidewalk, shaking a gun loose. Mulvihill and Giddy's try for it, but someone else has it. Evelyn holds the gun. She's shaking, but apparently in control of herself. Giddy's rises to his feet. Mulvihill starts to help Cross up.
No, don't help him. Don't do anything.
Mulvihill doesn't move. Cross rises on his own. Evelyn holds the revolver on him.
She's gone. It's no good.
Well,
Let me handle that.
I'm all right.
Sure, but I'd like to handle it.
Evelyn backs up as her father takes a step toward her.
well, you're gonna have to kill me, Evelyn. Either that, or tell me where she is.
Evelyn is backing up. Cross moving on her. Evelyn cocks the pistol.
She's, how many years I got? She's mine too.
She's never going to know that.
There's the sound of a siren. Cross lunges toward her. Giddy's grabs Cross. Duffy and Walsh are elbowing through the crowd. Giddy sees them.
Duffy, go over and sit on Melville. Jesus Christ, I didn't tell you to bring the police department with you.
Dick, it's Chinatown. They're all over the place. You ought to know better.
Give me your keys. Watch this old fart, will you? Take Duffy's car. Curly's boat's in Pedro near the Starkest Cannery. It's the Evening Star. He'll be waiting. I'll take care of this.
She looks to Giddy's. He looks at her. She turns and he looks at her. She turns and Escobar is standing between her. Escobar is standing between her and it.
Ms. Mulray, you don't want to run around like that.
Oh, Christ, Escobar, you don't know what's going on. Let her go. I'll explain it later.
Ms. Mulray, it's very serious offense. Pointing that at an officer of the law, that's a felony.
Let her go. She didn't kill anybody.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Mulray.
Lou, she will kill you. Let her go for now. You don't know.
Giddies, stay out of this.
Escobar continues to move toward her. Giddy's grabs him.
Now take off.
Evelyn gets in the car. She starts it. Giddy's lets Escobar go.
I'll just have her followed. She's not going anywhere.
There's a single gunshot. Both men look surprised. Down the block, a uniformed officer has fired, standing beside his double-parked car. Duffy's sedan slows to a stop in the middle of the street. It jerks a couple of times, still in gear, then comes to a halt. Giddy's rushes to the car. He opens it. Evelyn falls out. Inert, blood is pouring from her right eye.
No.
He holds onto Evelyn as Escobar and others hurry up. Cross himself elbows through.
Where is he? I'll kill him. I'll kill the son of a bitch.
Several officers contain Giddy's.
Who is he? Get his name. I'll kill him.
Take it easy. Take it easy. It was an accident.
An accident.
Giddys looks down. When he sees what he sees horrifies him. Cross is on the ground, holding Evelyn's body, crying.
Get him away from her. He's responsible for everything. Get him away from her.
Jake, you're very disturbed. You're crazy. That's your father.
Walsh and Duffy elbow through the crowd.
You want to do your partner the biggest favor of your life? Take him home. Get him the hell out of here.
Duffy bear hugs the protesting Giddys along with Walsh, literally dragging him away from the scene, with Giddys trying to shake free. Through the crowd noises, Walsh can be heard saying, "Forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown." The end.
Yeah, it's Chinatown.
Yeah, that's Chinatown.
Wow.
Good old Chinatown.
Not the happiest of endings, huh?
No.
Yeah, that's the one that's seen in the movie.
Yeah, that is the one.
I was
Oh,
going
I
to
thought
ask
it was
about
a little
that.
different. I
Yeah.
thought Cross shot her in the movie.
No,
Oh,
Cross
I'm-
didn't shoot her. She actually, in the movie, she gets shot by that way. That's actually how the movie is.
By
Yeah.
the police,
pretty much.
But Catherine is in the car with her.
Yeah, Catherine is
Yeah.
in the car with her. There's a few differences. This is probably not the last script, but that's, yeah, because there was a happy ending in the
Yeah.
original. Yeah, it was,
Wow.
she's supposed to drive off, or can't remember exactly, but it's a happy ending. And
But she
this is-
doesn't shoot him in any of the versions.
Oh, I don't know if she shoots him. That would be happy
Does
too,
shoot him
right?
in-
I know, that's what I was waiting for. That's what
I was
I was
hoping that
expecting.
for
and
that
not-
too. I wasn't sure because I couldn't remember what happens in the original script, but I know that that's the part that the director basically changed.
Yeah.
And then the writer came around later, Towne came around later and said it was a better ending. But
Yeah, I guess that's the truth, right? Like it caused some division, but
yeah.
I mean, it just shows the greatness of the writer to sit back and say, like, I mean, he did make a masterpiece, but then he sat back and he said, you know what you did at the end was kind of better than what I had
I
envisioned.
wonder what he had. Like sometimes people say that just to save face or grace or not
Oh,
to
yeah.
have conflict. And
Yeah,
Sure,
it's
sure.
a super dark ending, but I mean, it is like kind of, I mean, it's true, you know, like how many times have we seen in our own life that money can get you away with anything, you know? I
Oh, yeah.
mean, if you look at the troubled past of a lot of people, not even in Hollywood, but investment bankers, or, you know, there was that the kid that what was it, the affluenza teen, if you remember that guy, the kid that was drinking and driving and smashed
Oh.
into a car and killed 4 people, and his attorney thought that he was just so rich that he didn't know the consequences of his actions and got away with it.
Oh, yeah, he's too rich
You
to
know,
know his
that was a thing that actually really
Oh my
happened. I mean, I
God.
think we all know that, yeah, I mean, it's an evil of society that when you're rich enough, you can get away with anything.
And they mentioned that at the
Interesting.
beginning of the script, so it ties it together. But before we talk more about that, let's
Yeah.
make sure in case anybody has to go, we say our outros and all that jazz.
Sure.
So, Vicky, you get to go first.
I'm Vicky Dykes. I'm an actress in Central Alberta. You can find me on Facebook under the name Vicky Dykes, and on Instagram, I'm YogaGramma7. And speaking of yoga, I will be having a yoga show in the future. We haven't started filming yet. Things will start happening more around the middle of May, but more time for me to plan and build, and very exciting. So if you want to hire me, you can contact me. Also email bdykes@shaw.ca.
Awesome. So many good things happening and more to come. Don Lapasone.
I'm Don Lampersoni, and I live in Maryland, and I own a small production company, and I do some acting on the side every now and then, voiceover. That's pretty much me. You can find my website at myname.com, donlapersoni.com, if you want to see any of the work that I do and whatnot. Love doing this though.
Definitely. And next, Heather Lee Cameron.
Hello, my name is Heather Lee Cameron. I'm an actor, I'm a writer, I'm a voice actor, I'm a theater actor, and I'm a creator from Southern Alberta, but I'm a dual citizen of Canada and the United States. You can find me on my Facebook, Heather Lee Freelancer, or my YouTube channel, The Storm and Latter-day Saint. I also am all over social media. I'm looking for representation. I'm looking for work. You can contact me through my pages. I'm also on the actors pages like Actors Access, Backstage, things like that. Or you can email me at heather.leigh.cameron@gmail.com.
Sweet. All
I have
right.
to spell it because people always have a habit of misspelling my middle name.
Yep, that I can. There's many ways to spell very similar sounding names.
Yes,
So,
but I'm very grateful to have done. I'm hoping I did a good job tonight. I'm very grateful that Angelina felt me worthy of taking on so many roles tonight, and I hope I did a good
yes,
job.
you definitely did, as did everyone. And talking about Angelina Peterson, next, if able.
Hi. Hello, I'm Angel or Angelina Peterson. Thank you guys all for picking up after me in my rush to get here and all that. Doesn't show my hair. I'm now just a floating little head. I own a company called Your Adored Life, which we record people's stories, and oh my goodness, I had the most beautiful experience of that this weekend with one of my clients. And I'll just say it made such a difference to her, just even to be listened to and have her story heard. Even if we didn't film it, I think it would have been worth it for her. So, but we filmed it, so she gets to have that and give that to her family, and it'll be very good. So
That is
thank
very
you
good.
guys.
Very good that you offer that and do that. Mr. Clint Monroe.
Hey, what up? It's the Clint Monroe. No, I'm just kidding. Don't say that. I never refer to myself that way. Hey, you guys can follow me on Instagram, Gems of Zen Productions, and Facebook at Clint Monroe. You can find me there. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Like I said, I'm new to the industry, and I am just kind of looking as a couple different avenues. I'm looking at writer, director, doing a little bit of acting, and some camera work as well. And it's just been really busy. People are starting to reach out, but I have a story that I've been working on for a long time that I feel like is kind of the antithesis to the message or the deeper lying metaphor of this story. And I'm hungry. I'm willing to learn. If anybody's got anything out there, if you need help, you need anything, I'm here. I'm going to do it one way or the other. So I know that it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of patience. It's going to take a lot of research and energy and trying and mistakes and failures and frustrations. But this is what I'm going to do. And I'm committed to it. So I'm just moving one step forward at a time and slowly making my way in the world. I know I got a long way to go to get my script up here, but it's going to happen. I know it will. I have faith. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope you guys enjoyed us delivering this to you, because it's a doozy.
Awesome. And then Jason Steele to do his outro, and Craig Scott's.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm Jason Steele. I have a production company. You can find that at porcupinefilmproductions.com. You can reach me directly by email at jason@mrjasonsteele.com. So JASON at MRJASONSTEELE.com. And yeah, I do a lot of everything, directing, producing, and acting and writing and all kinds of things. And yeah, right now I'm just working on a web series about the future of film production. I've got a couple of episodes shot, but I'm looking for people to talk to about topics like live rendering, the Web3, VR, and cryptocurrency, how that fits into the future of film production and film distribution and all those things. So I can't remember what else. The future of sound, the future of the visuals, 3D, VR, all that stuff. So if you're an expert in any of those areas, or you've got a company that's on the bleeding edge of something, get a hold of me. Let me know, because I might want to interview you for that. So yeah, and Craig Scott, who I took over a couple roles for halfway through. He was playing Cross and Walsh and lots of other roles. Craig is the president of Central Alberta Theatre, does a lot of acting and directing, especially in theatre, but also some film and some improv as well. And he's always excited to get involved in whatever acting projects are available, except in the summertime. That's he's told me many times, summer is for baseball, winter is for acting, and that's his never the twain shall meet. So I imagine in the next month or so we may be having a harder time catching up to him. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, thank you very much. This has been a blast.
Yeah, it has been great. And with my yawn of me, like, thank you all for all that. We know some of you have to go. So thank you
Yeah,
everyone for
thank
being
you
here.
guys. I'm heading out early tonight, actually. So it was great to get to see you guys even for a little bit. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Angel. Good night.
Good night.
All right. So who wants to start the after discussion about Chinatown?
Dude, I have pages on pages of notes. I was not expecting that. I'm super, super glad that I drank a cup of coffee right before doing this, because that
Uh-oh, we're in trouble.
How do you
Just
find
kidding.
time to act and make all these notes? I have to know your secret.
Just drive, man. Like I said, I mean, this is what I want to do with my life, and I know I have a lot of work. I've been messing around for 34 years, you know, bouncing around the world and doing all kinds of odd jobs and stuff, and I'm ready to hit the ground. You know, it's been a long struggle to find what I was supposed to do and what career I wanted to do. I've looked at pretty much everything from international relations to being a bike mechanic, you know what I mean, and everything in between. And now I'm here, so it's just dedication. But yeah, man, there is I mean, if you want to talk about rewriting, I mean, this script nails the rewrite. Like I said, right? You're setting up the whole idea that this rich man gets away with it at the very end, and right at the very beginning of the script, literally like the first thing that they talk about is you're not rich enough to do that. You're not powerful enough to do that. You can't get away with murder, right? When that's what the whole movie's about. And there's so many little setups, right? Like the Mexican kid on the horse, right? Like they introduce that character earlier, and then they bring him back for another important note. When he goes to the pond at first, right? They say that the pond has salt water, that salt water is bad for the grass, and he sees what he thinks are bifocals in the water, right? But there's no evidence that there was salt water in the lungs, right?
He tries to see what it is. And
yeah. So then there's
gets
salt
stopped.
water in the lungs, and then they go back to the pond knowing that he drowned in salt water, then say it again, hey, there's salt water in this pond, and then boom, there it is. I mean, I just all of the dialogue sequences have something that's going on that move you in this different direction to what's going on, or all about the water. The total lack of scene headings, right? Like the first 8 pages sets up so many characters. I think we had this conversation with Fight Club, and when you watch Fight Club, there's a lot of scene headings in the very beginning, but it's super confusing to read. But all those scene headings it's a visual medium, whereas this one, I mean, 8 pages in is when they finally change scene. And how many characters have they introduced? They're talking about the water. They're talking about all this other stuff. I mean, it's whew.
I think it actually reminds me of Shawshank a little bit, except there's no Andy Dufresne to uncover the corruption, or at least attempt to. Everybody just doesn't care about it.
We've read a lot of older scripts, and usually they look very different than modern scripts. But this one, to me, it felt very modern. A lot of it, the way.
Like
It did the way
Giddy
it
tries
moved
to
through.
uncover the corruption,
Other than the
but he
scene
doesn't get
heading
very
part,
far.
you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
because now I think they did that on. Well, obviously they did it on purpose. The scene headings, the way they wanted to move through it fast, even though it would be considered fast for the time, I think. But now you'd probably watch it, and your kids would be like, "This movie sucks. It's too slow," you know. But watching it again, I watched it again just to see, like, I totally forgot so much of the movie, but it's just such a smart script, when you look at it from that perspective. But then you watch the movie, it's just from the time. So my thing, we were talking about at the beginning, like why this is regarded so much. I think it's just because it's such a good story, and it tells that story well. And for the time, I don't know if it was like it was definitely not the first film noir, but it was definitely like more of how the future of film noir was going to go.
And one thing I think, like you, Don, and Clint were both bringing out is like, I feel that there's so many, they properly set it up and paid off, but misdirects. And misdirects is like, you think it's this way, but then it's that way. Then you think it's that way, and you think he's figured it out. And none of them are until like the end.
And even the reveal of the father, and it's my daughter, and I'm her sister and her daughter. You're like, it's almost comical. When you watch it, it's almost comical when he's slapping her.
Yeah.
It's sort of reminded me of Airplane a little bit.
It does. It does.
But because the way they do it.
That's the one thing I did remember from watching the movie before. So that was in my head the whole time we're reading this. So I'm like, man, I already know that you know what I mean? And I'm just waiting for it to come. But any thoughts, Jason? You've been quiet. Don't know. Okay.
I mean, I think that this went a little bit away from the way they shot it too, from the traditional film noir, because it wasn't so dark as far as how they shot it. If you watch it, you're like, it's more realistic lighting. It's not like the half shadow all the time. It's not like, Rembrandt shadow throughout the whole thing. It's more like what lighting would be like, and that a lot of the detective shows now are that way. I mean, I guess you could say they're more realistic looking to make it more realism. I think that was intentional for this, totally.
One of the things that I watched, I hadn't watched the movie, but I watched a little thing, commentary on it, and they said the cinematographer for this was actually a documentary cinematographer, and so he was lighting for documentary where you want to see everything, and that's just how he lit. He wasn't making a specific choice. That's just how he and that's just how he knew how to light things. So that was my understanding of how that actually went.
I didn't know that. That's a good point.
That's interesting.
But it's possible the director wanted that. The director that we no longer like anymore.
For pretty
a number of reasons.
And that's probably partially why I didn't think that it was like so film noir to myself until people started mentioning that as the reason, because I'm like, it doesn't have the classic film noir look like it.
Yeah.
Dude, one of the things that I didn't notice was I think it's when he's talking to Mr. Cross the first time. It's when he's talking to the sailor or the pilot, and I'm pretty sure they didn't use that scene. Maybe I zoned out during that time, but
no, the pilot was not in there. That was one of the scenes that was not there.
So that like sets up the whole idea of the daughter right there, right? And so you're seeing that and you're like, whoa, dude, okay, I see what's going on here. And I just thought it was like super realistic the way that they talk about it. Like when you see what's the actress's name in this one?
Faye
Dunaway. When you see her her performance in this, there's so much subtext into what's really going on with how what her father did to her. You know, and it's like when you see it, you see there's a lot under the surface that they're not telling, right?
Yeah.
Until it finally comes out. And then it's slowly, like the way that somebody who's experienced something that's very traumatic deals with it, right? Or finally has to come out with it, is that they slowly start hinting at it, because they don't, it's not, you're like, hey, here's what happened to me, you know?
Yeah, they don't want to.
Yeah. And so it slowly, he's like peeling back the layers of this.
Well, he had to
And
slap
then,
it out of her.
what's up?
He literally had to slap it out of her.
Yeah. And then, you know, yeah, I just thought that was masterful. Another one that I thought that was super, super massively done as far as characters is concerned is the racism in this
Oh gosh,
movie.
yeah.
Because
Blatant.
it's blatant, but it's also driven and motivated, which I thought was really interesting, right? Because his whole backstory is living in Chinatown with this corruption, him trying to do the right thing and it never works out, and this frustration and bitterness and just overall jadedness, right? And so that kind of, that backstory is portrayed into his how he treats other people, you know.
Sure.
So I thought that was very well explained. It wasn't just like this is racism for racism's sake because this is the times. There was something behind it, because the whole story, right, what makes it so powerful is that this is a jaded man who does want to do the right thing, and he wants to help this woman escape her monstrous father, right? And so that in and of itself shows this sense of morality. So how can a person that has a sense of morality be racist and blatantly racist for no reason, you know? So I just thought that was a really good insight into character development, you know, and backstory.
Sure.
Now, I saw this when I was a teenager in the theater. Movies are always different when you see it big.
Absolutely.
And I found I really appreciated the twists and turns. I love detective. I love trying to figure things out. And you couldn't figure this one out. You know, you thought you knew what was going on, and it was like, oops, here we go again. Here's another flip, another turn. Another thing that I really find most intriguing is it's called Chinatown. There are references to Chinatown, but you don't actually get there until the very end. And when she's shot, suddenly her car is surrounded by people from Chinatown, and it's like a split second, and it's like nobody's on the street. You know, the movie ends and nobody's on the street. So it's just these little twists and turns that are all the way throughout the movie. Yeah, I'm taking over for Craig because I do like this movie. I've always liked this movie. And I'm just so pleased that I got to be Faye Dunaway. Yeah, that was great.
Oh,
It was
I like
great.
the movie too. I'm not sure that I was saying that there's a few things I'm not sure about it. I like it, but for today's standards, it's a little bit slow. But at the time, the first time I remember liking it better, but now it's like, it's a little harder to watch now, I think.
Yeah.
And like you said, Jacob, I don't know if it's really film noir, if it's just a detective movie, because people will say that, but like there's a lot that goes into that to call it that. I love detective movies.
Yeah.
And I don't think all of them are film noir though, right? I mean, I
No.
don't know. There's like other things that go into it. That's why I was saying I think it turned and it started sort of a new generation of how to tell these type of stories.
Yeah, Agatha Christie is not ever thought of as
Yeah.
film noir.
Yeah.
So that's a good example.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think that happens too with films like that are older, that you know, you look back, it's definitely what regarded as one of the top films. It might even be on some list number one.
Yeah.
Is the best movie of all time. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that, but it's definitely good. I mean, especially when you haven't seen it and you don't know, because the turns and twists. I mean, you might argue that some of those ideas got into other people's future minds for new movies that came out. You could even say like Star Wars had, had some, because it has sort of that a little bit of that kind of twist in it, right? Where
who is the dad at the end
exactly
of the kid? Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
it's
it has
super
that kind
interesting too, because I mean we did read Jaws, right? Which when you start studying this movie, Jaws comes up a lot. And what they say is like as we started to change into the new Hollywood style, right? Like this was kind of the last movie to come out of the old Hollywood style, where most of the money was put in the development, the script, everything, right? And when Jaws came out and became the first blockbuster, and studios started realizing, wait a second, let's just spend not most of the budget, but a lot of the budget on marketing these films. We'll cut the budget on production, spend it on advertising to start making more money, right? So this was kind of like the last little bit of all of it's going into the artistic value of this film, right?
I didn't know that. That's interesting
Yeah,
too.
me either.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think going back to what the two of you guys were saying is like, I think it's one of those movies that when you see it then, it was completely groundbreaking. Like it changed the way that things were done. And now everybody's doing it that way. So it doesn't seem as powerful now because everybody's using that same method. But this was what created that method.
Totally. Kind of like the Citizen Kane. Like we watched that and we're like, what? This is a big deal. But it was a whole new thing when that came out for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But cool. Any other what other scenes did you guys notice that were not in the movie, if you can remember?
There was a scene in the restaurant, I think, that
Okay.
was cut with the woman that gets
Yeah.
mad at him. I think that wasn't there.
And I think that's Curly's wife. I'm just betting at it because it said that she came with the black eye.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, but I don't remember seeing that scene.
Yeah.
And there might be some differences in the ending too, that dialogue wise, not a whole scene. I think there were some differences in how that, like you said, the girl was in the car. That's not here, right? Yeah.
Do you guys have any idea what the original writers' end of the movie was?
Yeah, I don't. I know it was happy. It was a happy ending. That's a good one to look up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see her get away.
Yeah. I wonder if it would have been regarded so well though, if that would have happened. If they wouldn't have changed the ending, because it's like, in a way, would that make it less of a story? I don't know.
It's one of the few Hollywood movies to not have one of those,
I think that's, it's also one of the first times they did something like that. No Hollywood ending.
Which is also super interesting to note, like, because when they talk about New Hollywood, right, that was definitely influenced a lot by the French New Wave, right? And a lot of foreign cinema, a lot of the kids that were going to film school,
well, Polanski
like Spielberg.
He's European, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Where's he come from? Somewhere over there.
Something I remember from the watching the movie again, and I found it very gross. Here's Catherine. She sees, and she doesn't know it's her mother, dead with her eye bleeding all over. And here comes Cross, and he literally puts his hands over his hand over her eyes.
I remember that, yeah.
And I found that just so appalling.
Monstrous.
How can you protect her? Yeah, you created all of this.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that's so powerful about it, because you're creating this idea that like the world is evil and corrupt, you know, and then this monster comes in and walks away from the horrors that he's created because of his status in society, you know.
Can I say something? You don't have to have a status in society to be a monster and create monster situations.
True.
Like, I had a father who was not very prominent in society, yet he was a monster because of alcohol. And he was monstrous of all to me and to the family that I was in. And you know, it's a terrible thing. You don't have to have a status to be a monster, but you don't have to become a monster just because you're in a monstrous situation. And that's the wonderful thing. You don't have to become what you survive.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry for taking it off topic for a minute.
No,
That's okay.
thank you for sharing.
On topic for sure.
It is, and showing that you don't have to be high society to also get away with it. You know what I mean? A lot of people get away with it from all
Yeah,
walks
like
of
that
life.
Shawshank. Like
Yeah.
that one dude. What's his name? I forgot his name. Shoot.
Are you the guy
The
who ran
main
the prison?
character the
Oh.
main character in Shawshank.
Oh yeah.
He literally endured so much crap. He had to work for the most corrupt people in the world, and yet he screwed them over in the end, took the money and ran off to Mexico.
Yeah.
And then his friend came and they enjoyed the rest of their lives together in peace, building boats and living as peacefully and as happy as they could.
And even in this script, even though it ends without the Hollywood ending and happy, and I like that with a lot of films, like depending on the story, that they are not all cliche, but even my brain's still going like, well, we don't know the real end. Like, I don't know if they had DNA testing. Then I'm like, they could still find out. The other guy could tell them. He could still get in trouble, get, I don't know, his name ruined and stuff.
Yeah.
So in my brain, it was
Like,
still a happy ending. Just kidding. He
wherever
still
that
got in
little
trouble
girl
later.
ended up, because I don't know if we actually found out what happened to the girl. I hope she ended up very happy and safe with.
Well, there is a second movie. I just don't remember any of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jack Nicholson is.
I don't know if it has anything to do with this one or anything, or it's just another venture with
The title.
Wow.
I didn't even know it existed till you guys mentioned that.
I think we can imagine that the girl ended up happy and safe and away from the corruption.
In the movie. The reason I said there's 5 different ways they say his name, because really they do. Like everyone says his name in the movie a different way.
Yeah.
It's like Gittez, Git. The father calls him Git.
Yeah.
I was mispronouncing it too. I'm mispronouncing.
No, I don't even know the right way. Personally, I'm not even sure. I don't even think he said it the same way twice.
Right.
The main character, I don't even think he did.
Oh, even his own name?
I don't think he did. I was trying to listen. I was like, is it Gittez or Giddies or Giddis? I don't know.
It was fun to watch everybody messy pronounce it. It was very amusing.
Maybe I just missed it. I don't know. I was just like, oh, yeah, there's like 5 or 6 ways they're pronouncing this name.
Another thing I found funny, since I live in LA and a lot of you don't, is like some of the LA words that we do know, and then hearing all the different names, the way it was pronounced and stuff. It was a little funny.
Do you know the moment that absolutely made my evening? I was looking at Jason. I was thinking, who is that? He's awfully good. And then I suddenly click and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's the guy that played Marty's mom on Back to the Future. Holy crap.
Yeah, I remember that now that you mention it, dude. That was awesome. If you guys haven't seen it, go back.
A little less beard done.
What were you saying, Jason?
I was literally thinking, I want to be in a film with that guy. I still do, by the way.
Hey, anything's possible. It could happen. Who knows? Yeah, I've got a little more beard since I played Marty's mother. I don't remember if I had a beard when I did the Marty's mother
No,
role.
you didn't. You were cleen shaven and you had that nice little cardigan on and your hair back. And I think you had some earrings.
And then when she was a teenager, I put her as this total badass. Yeah, that was fun.
That was awesome.
And
yeah,
then
all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I'm looking at the bottom of my screen. There's a guy with his shirt off and a little hat and a shotgun.
The gun in the
Main character.
and the gun.
You got
But
some good
farmer, oh my
props.
God, I died. I died happy just for a moment, just because of the naked farmer and the gun.
That's one thing I can never do. I don't have so many props at my house.
Oh, I got
That's
so
great
many.
to have all the
Yeah.
props and the different outfits. I don't have
Like,
that
I have
either.
to know your secrets someday if you ever
That's
share them.
good.
That just delighted me beyond delight.
Oh, honestly, I just have like a garage that is just full of like totes full of stuff.
That's
And
great.
and literally, I got home about, gosh, it was probably about an hour before we had to meet. And so I finally opened up the script then, skimmed through for my parts, and then read the character descriptions and any props that those characters had. And like 5 minutes before we had to meet up, I ran outside, grabbed as many pieces as I could, threw them on the floor of my office,
Oh my
and
God.
have just been like stepping to the side, switch it as I go.
That's good.
So you literally you sounded like Mario from Super Mario Bros. With 5 minutes of freaking preparation. Oh my God, you are a gift.
That's awesome.
Hey, how do you want? I don't know. That was fun.
You better come to more of these things because I miss you. I really miss
I know.
you.
I was busy for quite a while. I've been I was working out at a camp LG Barnes, and I'm done working there for now. But man, I was just like go there, and had just so many different things going on the Tuesdays. So my Tuesdays just would not line up. So I'm glad. I think some Tuesdays are going to start to line up again. So yeah, maybe I'll take
We
a look
can have
next
you
week.
back.
Yeah.
Sweet.
If anybody has been wanting to be a part of this, where can people find out how to audition for this?
The easiest place is on the Facebook group. You just type into Facebook, search Table Read Tuesdays.
There's also a
And
Twitter.
oh yeah, we have Twitter, we have YouTube, we have Instagram, but on Facebook we have the links to the Google Forms to apply and give us the information of when you're available. So that's the place
Yeah.
we share it the most. But maybe right after this, then I'll make sure it's also
Perfect.
shared on Twitter and elsewhere.
Well, in
Yeah.
true script writing fashion, right, there's the setup and the payoff. So anybody that's watching, the payoff is when you sign up and you get to sit with us, right? That's the payoff. So we just set you up. Go to the Facebook page, sign up, and come read with us. Come
And
study.
we have the whole list of all the movies we're going to do for the rest of the year. So find the movie that you love and go, I want to be a part of that, or I've never read that script before. I want to read it. Put it on your calendar so you don't miss it.
And it's a safe space. I did mention this to somebody that I promoted this to. It's a safe place where we come and perform scripts. Nobody is made to feel bad, even if they aren't very good. Nobody's made to feel bad about it.
You're talking about me?
And by the way, everybody was lovely. I'm just super happy to see Jason because I haven't seen him in 4 months. And it's like, the naked farmer is going to be in our
Yeah.
Great.
I'm pretty sure that is going to be an installment of Jacob and I were talking about it, right? Because he was on vacation in Disneyland. And so we were talking about Table Read Tuesdays of the ride. And the naked farmer will definitely
Yeah, gonna need you.
Yeah. So you have a production company. Did you just get all your props over the years, or?
Yeah, so a lot of my props, so some of them came from, I was a producer for murder mysteries through Smoking Gun Entertainment for several years. And so over the years, I kind of added to those. And then I've now passed on producing to someone else and actually given away a huge amount of my props and costumes. And yet still, I just have so many still. I don't know how I still have so much, but yeah, just over the years, just I see something cool, like these cool Western guns, they're really neat. I got a few of those that I spent some money on, and otherwise, yeah, I just see things and I think, hey, that would be really cool. And, spend $10 here or there at a thrift shop or whatever, and other things I spend a little more money on, like those guys, and yeah, and then I just got a pile
Cool.
of glasses and stuff, so all the fun things, Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
It's all
it's the
helpful.
heavily bifocal glasses.
There we go.
Yeah.
They were at the bottom of the pond. Ah,
Yep.
you did it, Mr. Cross. You
My
did it.
gosh, you know what? Now you look like Tim Allen's rendition of the Santa Claus with those things.
Oh my gosh, the Santa Claus. Yeah, there we go.
Dude, that's like the one IMDb rating that I want to dispute, man. I think it's like a 5.6 or like a 6.1. That is like the greatest Christmas movie, man. The Santa
Yeah.
Claus,
Is it on our list?
so good.
Next to
That's like
Christmas
got a 5
Vacation, of
points.
course.
Yeah.
You mean next to Die Hard?
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
The Die Hard, of course. Of course.
No, that's a big thing in the household is when Halloween comes around, it's nothing but horror movies. When Christmas comes around, it's nothing but the best Christmas movies.
You know, during the COVID Christmas when nobody could go anywhere, I think I watched 30 Christmas movies in 31 days.
Sick, dude.
31 Christmas movies in 30 days. I literally made a calendar of Christmas movies
That's
and
awesome.
TV shows and everything.
Share it with the world.
I will. It's on Facebook.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm that weird. I made a calendar of Christmas movies.
That's not weird at all. That's normal. Everybody else who doesn't do that is weird.
I'm weird.
Well, I own like 500 movies that I collected since I was a teenager. So
Yeah.
Any other film noir or detective movies you guys would recommend for people who like this movie?
I don't know, maybe
That's what you
Inspector Gadget.
Is Roger Rabbit film noir? It feels like it. to
Oh,
me.
maybe. You
I
know
think
what?
so.
Maybe.
Ed
Yeah.
Hoskins. Is it?
What's the
They
one?
were saying that was the most expensive movie ever made at the
What's
time.
the one?
I believe it, and I'm shocked that they had all the Warner Brothers and Disney characters in the same movie. You would think that's impossible, never going to happen.
Yeah, that was the
It did.
only time it ever happened
What was
until
the?
Jacob Patrick's.
I'm trying to think of Christopher
Masterpiece.
Nolan. Memento.
Oh,
I don't know
Memento.
why it reminds me
yeah.
of Memento at all, but are we reading Memento? That's a good one.
Yeah, we
That's
do
a good
have.
That is-
I believe we have it on the list. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good
That
one.
is my #1 favorite movie of all time, so I might have to get in on that reading.
Yeah, that's a good film.
All right.
Good film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
If
did
we're-
a monologue from that once.
Yeah.
I'll be one of your tattoos.
I know there's another detective movie. It's kind of rated R, though. I don't know if any of you have seen it. What is it called? The Happy Town Murders or something?
Oh gosh, yeah,
Sure.
that's hilarious.
Pretty sure
Yeah.
this one was rated R.
And I know they're just rebooting Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. I think it's supposed to come out this month.
I don't think that's rated R.
No, this new version, dude. It's hardcore.
Well, what kind of Chippendale are you talking about?
Yeah.
Chippendale
funny.
Rescue Rangers.
Right.
It's weird.
That would be a hilarious skit, by the way. The Chippendales Rescue Rangers.
I would
Chip
literally-
and Dale's
literally-
Rescue
Jason,
Rangers.
that's
Only
your part,
Chris
dude, the
Farley
bacon
were still
farmer from
here.
Chippendales.
If only Chris Farley and Patrick Swayze were still here.
Oh man, that is such a good skit, man. I love that one.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh, Chris Farley's just working it.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze's like, dude, I got nothing on that guy. I just don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm shocked we're not reading Memento.
Oh, we're not reading Memento.
I mean,
That's okay.
it's not on this year's list. I thought for sure it would be. I guess
Oh,
it's
okay.
going to have to be sometime next year.
Yeah.
I guess
but next,
you could say the Batman are film noir,
Mhm.
Yeah, they're very,
dark.
I would say
Dark.
for sure.
Even the new one's definitely dark. Have you guys seen
Yeah.
the new one?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really good.
You know
actually.
what?
I liked it a lot.
I just thought of
a lot of
one.
people don't like it, but I liked it.
For me, I think I just got used to binging shows on Netflix and stuff. It felt more episodic to me than most movies. Like, yes, every movie has like their scenes in
Mhm.
this, but it felt like, oh, this felt like this episode ended. They wrapped
Oh,
this up,
yeah,
and now
yeah,
it felt
yeah.
like this was an episode and that ended. And
Well,
it felt
it picked up like halfway through, and then it got like some people couldn't make it halfway through. It was slow, and then it started picking up halfway through, and then it got good to the end. Is how I felt about it. But you know, it was a little different too. So I felt like it sort of made Batman a little more human than
Yeah.
as,
Dude, that one scene when he goes in, well, it's not really a spoiler.
We'll just say spoilers. If you guys haven't seen it,
Spoilers.
have a good night.
yeah. No spoilers.
When he I thought it was super, super powerful when he goes into the nightclub. It's a short scene. It's like 2 minutes. It's not spoiling anything.
That's not a spoiler. Yeah, I don't think.
When he goes in the when he's not in the Batman outfit and he just crushes people in the hoodie. I thought that was super awesome because it's like, I mean, you always see Batman in his bat clothes being a badass, and then he's like a different person and rich. But something about that just like really hit me as like he's this grungy dude who wrecks people, you know. I thought that was awesome. I want to see more of that. If you guys want to write a Batman script, write more of that in it, please. And I will watch it. You have one certified guaranteed viewer of that film.
Well, I'm sure they have millions.
I literally just thought of another type of spy movie that's like surrounds the Flintstones.
Really?
Yeah, it's like called The Man Called Flintstone.
Okay.
Like, get this, like this dude that looks exactly like Fred is being chased by these evil spies, like, and literally Fred has to like go and represent this devil against these evil spies. It's funny as heck if you haven't seen it. It's called The Man Called Flintstone. It's around the 1960s or the 50s.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Funny.
Is it live action?
No, it's animated, but
animated?
it's so funny. It's amazing.
Wow.
Interesting.
They did that a lot with cartoons. They would sort of a movie
Do not-
would be out,
do
something
not.
would be popular, and
No,
they do like a
No, if you're gonna say something against the Flintstones,
no, not at all.
do it in
No,
front of me.
I played Barney, you know, before. So hey, Fred.
Speaking
Fred,
of
how's
the
it going, Fred?
Flintstones, last week we did Clueless, and when I was researching for Clueless, that was something that came up, right? Like Barney, when they say, "Oh, he's such a Barney," it's like a big dumb oaf, right? Like that was the thing. And then they're like, what was the other one? Total Betty, right?
Oh yeah,
That came from that too, right? Because she's like super done up and looks really, really good.
Yeah, I wouldn't insult Barney though. That's like insulting Rick Moranis because I believe he played Barney in the live action movie, right?
Fair enough.
All right.
But maybe
All
I'm
right.
too much of a geek because I know all this.
Nah.
I think it just
Anyone who's watching any of the Table Read Tuesdays are all like film and entertainment lovers. You know what I mean? So, like you said, this is a safe space for all of us to be entertainment geeks.
Sure.
I was literally the child who begged mom to buy the Flintstones animated movie at the movies out of the Avon catalog. And I've got a little shelf out in my hallway with Flintstones VHSs.
That was my first experience with the idea of punching the clock, actually. Watching the live action Flintstones. Why are they doing that? I don't know.
The
What's that, all the
and
time
puts a
card
little-
when the bird like bites it? What is that, Mom and Dad? And then they're like, "You'll learn. You'll figure it out." And then you're like, "Oh, I hate punching the clock."
Hopefully you don't.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's funny.
But all right, you guys. I think
Sorry,
that was
we're so off topic.
we did go pretty far off topic today.
That was fun.
But that's okay.
Great read. Thank you for that. That was awesome.
Yes, everyone did amazing. Very proud of everyone.
Everyone did amazing. I do think it's a really good script. You know what I mean? How it's well written, all the twists, the turns, like you said, the setups, the payoffs.
Yeah, it reads a lot like a book, man. Definitely.
So our homework is to watch the second movie and see how bad it is.
Yeah.
And leave it in the comments.
I think, what is it next week? The Truman Show or something?
Yes, one of my favorite movies.
What that's about. I've never even heard of it.
You should watch it.
Very
Don't
good.
look up anything on it. Just watch it.
Yeah, it's
Do
very
it.
good.
It's
Is that
so
findable?
Very good.
I'm sure it has to be
Is it what?
findable.
Is it findable?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
So it's playing somewhere. Absolutely. I mean, it's a Jim Carrey movie, so
There's a where to watch if you type that
Yeah.
tells you what
It sounds
platforms
like a
things are on.
newscast like thing, people in a newsroom or something.
HBO has it. If you have HBO, I mean, you probably Hulu. Well, if you have HBO, you could definitely rent it from Amazon. Nearly.
Is there a
anything
big
from
difference
Amazon.
between Canadian Netflix and American Netflix? I know, like when you get to England and Australia, there is a
There,
big.
there is a
Yeah.
difference. Yeah,
Oh, I
there
didn't
is a
know that.
difference.
I've spent
Interesting.
extra money on TV since the pandemic just because I have a unique situation I'm not going to go into, but I spend the extra money on TV because I don't spend it on anything else.
Yeah.
Entertainment is training, you know.
And I mean, this is your industry. This is what you love. It's partially, a mixture of research and
Communications is my industry. It's been my
relaxation.
industry all my life. So, yeah.
So yeah, if it gives you that escape and that enjoyment, it's probably worth it. A little bit a month, a week,
Absolutely.
if you can. But yeah. All right,
guys.
everybody.
Well, as they say, that's Chinatown.
I know. I still.
Get it.
What would you guys have named it? Should we have named that?
The movie?
Yeah.
Other than Chinatown?
Yeah. Like, do you guys think that's the perfect name for it?
I mean,
That's
I
one
was
thing I
a little
looked up.
confusing, but I get it though. I get it.
What
Comes
one of
from
the
his
things that I
past.
thought was
It's his
super interesting.
backstory.
Huh?
His backstory. It's about Jake's backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that you try and help people and it doesn't work out, and
Yeah.
other stuff going on.
Absolutely.
But one thing you were saying, Vicky, that they were in Chinatown and then like nobody was there. Then they're there. When I was trying to look up like what the last scene was of the original script, I saw that it said in the original script there were no scenes in Chinatown,
Oh.
none. And that's when Polanski's like, no, there has to be one in Chinatown. And that's one thing he put in it. But
Probably.
for me, I
Well,
would have
one of
changed the
the things
name,
that
LA River. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I think so. When I was doing research, the writer was like kind of like researching and entertaining the idea of like Western influence in migrant villages, and if it really works, or if that's really doing anything, or if the society should exist the way that it was, and how he was seeing that a lot of the people trying to come in there and change it just wasn't working, right? So he kind of wrote that whole thing based on that, so that's where the whole idea of Chinatown comes from, right? And then obviously his character is born out of that, because that's what he was trying to do, was to change things, and he didn't know if he was making it better or not,
all right, like you said, that's Chinatown. Just
That's
kidding.
Chinatown, dude.
That's right.
It's
All right, you guys.
Thank you
See
for
you next
reading
week.
us
Have a
tonight.
wonderful
Thank you.
night. See ya.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great night.
Good night.